Hi, this is Tactical Reserves. I'm Brinks.
I'm Zach.
I'm Troy.
I'm Anvil.
And I'm Chad.
And this week we are going to be discussing hobbying, obviously. Going to shout out a couple of people that sent us emails and comments and photos and such. And we will go over the two tournament lists, or the two top four lists from the tournaments this weekend, or past weekend. And then we're going to kind of delve in a little bit to what we think of the lists, even though they're maybe not meta-defining, but what we think of the lists as a meta-defining situation, and how we would build to handle them moving forward, assuming that people are going to kind of latch onto those lists and they become somewhat standard. So the first thing I want to do is just shout out some people and thank them for their time. We had Kyle Birch gave us pretty nice pictures of his paint jobs. John Russell had some pretty constructive criticism. We'll do our best to get that dialed in. That's very valid, and I could understand the frustrations there. And then I want to move on Reddit. We had Corny 40K gave us a lot of insight onto their opinions on the captain and lieutenant. Basically, on every single model, they had a different input on it. I don't want to go over all of it because it's quite a bit, but thank you, Corny, for your input. Super awesome. Taco Grinder had said the Outriders they think will be amazing in Deathwatch. Everybody loved Eradicators pretty much generally because they're so good. And then Citric Wrath was talking about how he said Judicars and maybe Lieutenants would both be welcome in Deathwatch as well. So a lot of y'all are on Deathwatch and got me wondering. Well, I'm going to look into it this week and see if I can understand where you're coming from on there. Obviously, I didn't want to delve into a whole deep conversation about it on podcast because I can't talk to y'all. But I'll definitely be DMing you to ask you about that. And then we had somebody send us an email question.
Yeah, Nichols at gmail.com. He wanted to know what our favorite model to paint out of the new box was so far.
My favorite model was definitely the probably the Scorpack Lord. It's an awesome model. I'm not quite finished with it, but I really enjoyed painting it, and it actually made me get good at something new. So I had a lot of trouble with the energy weapons, and I finally got them to where I feel like they look good, and I'm proud of it. So that is probably my favorite model because it has challenged me the most. So that is it for me for sure.
I haven't painted anything yet, but I'm really liking the sculpts of the Blade Guard veterans, so I'm going to take my time with those.
They do look pretty amazing.
I think the Judicar is what I'm going to take the most time with when I get to it. It'll probably be last of what I paint out of those. I think the model just looks awesome, and the hanging lantern it's just great.
Okay, right on. And I know Chad actually did some hobbying this week. Did Anvil, did you paint anything out of the Indominus box?
I mean, I painted all Chad's models blue.
That's true.
I like the captain. I love the shield with the... I know you hate the shield with the skeleton on it. I dig it. I like the way it looks. So,
that's fair.
I know
to each
you
their own.
shit all over it.
I do.
Like, why would you have a skeleton? Like, whatever. I think it's just an aesthetic thing, and I dig it.
All right. What about you, Troy? What's your favorite model if you were to paint one from the Indominus
There are
box?
not enough spiky bits in that box. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know, man. The Scorpack Destroyer's got like 2 swords, 3 pointy legs.
I actually like the bike. I know Zach said it's kind of bland, but there's actually a lot of room on the side to like where you could kind of go for like a symbol, or you could even like kit bash some stuff on there. I think there's more like leeway to it. Like, I think the model has space for more. So you're like some spiky bits.
Yeah, you found
You're like, I found something I can kit
I
bash.
can add spiky stuff
I
to
can
the Outriders.
I can see this bike with spiky bits all over it.
This is a nice blank canvas.
Like, I think there's some spikes and skulls that could go on this.
Yeah, and I'm a huge closet like Akira fan, and it looks.
It does definitely have the Akira vibe to it. I'll give you that. All right. Well, let's move on to this week in hobbying. Anvil, what'd you do this week?
Painted all Chad's models blue because that's not something he can do.
He has an airbrush, and it was easier.
So I painted all his models blue. Worked a little bit more on the Emperor's Sword on Gilliman. Getting ready to... Chad got me another pot of blue because I'd used all my McCrag on his his Space Marines. So I can I'm gonna start working on Gilman's armor next. But it's a lot of detail in that, and I really didn't want to get diving in until I had all the stuff I needed.
Makes sense. Zach?
The day after we recorded, GW got a shipment of impulsors. So I snap bought up what I needed. And I've managed to put together 1.5, and I ran out of glue. So now I wait. So I can finish the second one. But I put out the call for any help with running some down, and the next day, GW got some in stock. They're out again by now. So if you're hearing it now, you're too late. They're gone again.
Who said?
Oh, Valdel, by the way, thank you for contacting us. That's an awesome viewer, just a good dude. Thanks for contacting us, man. Appreciate it. He actually had one new in box. Did you?
I ended up buying it.
Evil Beard got it.
Should
So
be here tomorrow.
It'll be lousy with an impulsors.
Well, I'm hoping that it'll. Currently, Death Watch can't take it. I'm assuming
that's a good bet. That's good. That's a safe
it
bet.
should be able
Especially
to
since
get
they're going to be rolled into the new book.
And if you don't open it, you can just
He's playing the long war, if you will.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
just like
God.
it's
You
good,
just paint
it's
it
good.
blue and sell it to
maybe
Chad.
Chad can make it nickel payments on it.
That's true.
Nickel paint.
That's right.
Nickel's a lot for Chad.
Hey man, it's been a rough week.
All right, so Chad, what did you hobby on this week?
I painted gold. I golded out all 20 of my assault intercessor squads, and I moved on to the lead belcher on the swords. I've been talking to Zach a lot about how to do the spiky bits of the chain sword. I should talk to Troy about spiky bit stuff, I guess, but you know, I saw some of Zach's and I liked what he did, so I'm going to do that and then move on to the stake white leather.
So
I think.
we're talking about this. What's everyone's opinions on chainsword? Do you think the guard, the middle, should be the color of the armor or something, and then the teeth like lead belcher silver color, or are you a all silver?
Not all silver, but I don't know if it has to be the same.
I don't want it the same color as the armor. If anything, like if I see a bunch of ultramarines, like I love one of my favorite marine color combos is just ultramarine blue with the captain's red helmet. I would love to see blue marines with a red guard on the sword.
Like the
That's-
center part red with like the lead.
Yeah.
Because I've seen people like that just all.
Might I suggest some black and yellow stripes?
Well, yeah.
I really like that, but I'm way too lazy to do it.
Yeah.
So mine are all just all my Blood Angel ones are armor color. You know, a lot of those
I
have
mean, the Blood Angel's armor is really good, so that kind of.
yeah. And then I lead belcher the blades, and a lot of them have like gold inlays because Blood Angels are super fancy like that. So
I'm definitely going to lead belcher the blades. I'm not going to lead belcher the whole thing, though. It would look cool just being all bright and shiny.
I just been looking around at chain swords. Everyone has it. And I was like,
Well,
there's kind of like two camps on it. I just didn't know where.
When you look at a chainsaw, like the middle part's not
Yeah,
blades.
I might
No,
do
but I
all
mean-
lead belcher.
But
and
they were
then
steel.
I like the
Yeah,
red idea.
usually
Red
got a
or
guard
black
rail.
for the actual.
And the chains usually.
Black, in my opinion, black just doesn't actually transfer well to miniatures. Like a gray is a much better color to work with than black because black you lose all of your depth.
I think when you use black on a miniature, it should be very sparingly.
Yeah,
I've seen a
I
lot of
actually
the.
use the
pieces.
Templar black for
The contrast.
the
the
contrast
contrast
black.
black.
I actually like that a lot, even over non-normal contrast colors. It's not as deep as
Yeah.
a lot of the Abaddon black stuff.
yeah. I have an Abaddon black. And
I actually
ugh.
of the things that I think GW does well, white and black are not it.
No, I agree.
I like
agree.
Vallejo and I like now they're Monument Hobbies. Was Creature Caster. They're Pro Acryl. I like them more than the GW. Like their white and their black just isn't as. I don't know. It does.
They're too heavily pigmented.
If I could
Yeah.
find a way to make them look like they're all metal with red, like they've been in somebody, like they're bleeding. Look
Yeah.
at that.
Yeah, there's a
There
paint for
is
that.
something for that. I think
I'm not that good
I
yet,
don't
but
actually
that's
like that
what in
on
my
my
head.
models.
Having some red on the metal would be sweet. That's kind of what I want to end with.
Well, and if you're going to be fielding Gilliman, it'd also be an alternative would be do blue, like your armor color, and then trim it in gold to match out the army, and then do the blade itself in lead belcher. That's real simple.
The blade's gonna be lead belcher.
Yeah,
Decided
yeah,
no
lead
matter
belcher
what.
blade, gold trim
Yeah.
around the blue hilt.
Give it a little highlight on the very tippy tips.
Yeah,
Make them a little shiny.
yeah.
Yep.
So, but no, I think that's a good question.
Like the blade, I know everyone has a different opinion on how like they like them painted, and I just was curious.
Zach and I had a half an hour conversation about it Monday, and I left with nothing.
Seems Chad do more hobbying this week than I've ever seen him do.
I know, right? It's good. Hopefully he sticks to it. Troy, what'd you do this week?
Worked on, actually got the Jakari out and worked on some of them. So I got a few. I tried 2 different paint styles on it. I tried orange. I don't know if I really like it, but I was playing 2 different factions. So I needed them to look different at least. But I might go back and redo those guys because they didn't really turn out the way I liked it.
Yeah.
They were a little road coney.
Yeah.
They weren't like a
Safety
deep.
cone orange.
They weren't like a deep
I went with
like dark color. They just had like this really orange.
I went
like,
with Troll Slayer orange, and I didn't like it. I think I'm gonna try I got one called like Wild Rider Red or something that looks deeper. But it's a red, but it kind of looks orange.
It does. It's a good red though.
I have a Jacaro orange, which is a darker.
Yeah, so I'll figure something out. I don't even know.
Try. It's more like
I only did five crappy dudes, so.
Also, orange is a really hard color to execute.
I saw somebody else's, and it looked awesome, and I wanted to try it.
Was it the one for sale this week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I botched the.
Like the one, like my cast this night, the big armor. I based it with Jacaro, and then I went back with the Troll Slayer and did like the middles to like brighten up the middle of the plates. So
Troll Slayer just ended up being more pastel, brighter than I thought it was gonna be.
I do think I honestly believe this orange is one of those colors nowadays. If you're going to be spraying it in yellow, you really just need to airbrush it. It just looks. It doesn't have. It's so orange in the paint industry, like red pigments, so orange, yellows, and light reds. They have no coverage. They're very like thin pigments, so naturally you're going to have more coverage problems than you will with your blues and greens and browns and stuff like that. Because that's how actual like pigmenting works with paint. So naturally, anytime you pick up one of those colors, not only is it a challenging color to work with, it's gonna feel thinner, and you're gonna have to put more coats on, which makes it hard if you're trying to do precision stuff like the red and black striping, especially yellow next to black, like because they're so stark. So that's very much when you think about doing those colors, you should really consider an airbrush because it's gonna save you trouble. You can do a light dust coat and you're not going to have so much build, and it's going to be a nice even finish. So I do recommend that. And
my primer I used the contrast primer, so it's really light.
Yeah.
So, and they didn't have a dark underneath, and it just didn't work.
Yeah.
I have all the contrast orange and yellows. If you want to try any of those.
Another thing about the airbrush thing is with yellows and red, or yellows and oranges, whatnot. It's thin. So if you need to go back over it, you can airbrush a model 10 times and you really won't lose detail. Whereas you brush a model, it doesn't take too many times to start losing detail.
Yeah.
So you can put 3 coats of yellow on, 4 coats of yellow on, and you'd never notice.
Yep.
So you can. That's the other bonus of using an airbrush.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that's definitely something to keep in mind when you think you're going to take on a project like that. Similar thing is, just since we're talking about this, when you're doing whites, whites will cover well, but it is hard to create dimension in whites, and it usually takes. You want to not have something that's so much pure white. Is you want to focus on like an almost light, like a light gray, and use white to highlight it to show that that's the color. Because the same thing with especially GW's whites, when you airbrush it or paint it onto something, you lose a fair amount of that dimension. So you want to keep that in mind when you're doing that. Try to do like a very light gray and then highlight it in white, and you're going to get so much more dimension out of your model, and it's going to save you a lot of trouble because painting white, it seems to be one way or the other. Either it's thick, chunky, and it wants to cover everything in one coat and doesn't look nice, or it's overly thinned and doesn't cover your primer very well unless you have a white primer. So just a couple of tips since we're discussing that.
I've had trouble with white before. I've basically given up on white.
Yeah, well, I airbrushed my models white, and I just went down this path last week where I started with white instead of a gray, and there was nowhere left to highlight. So now I'm going back over and I'm doing some very light gray work, and I'm highlighting in white.
I was asking what whites I should get this week because I'm thinking about doing the lieutenant next, the Primaris lieutenant, and he has a lot of white in the scheme I want to do with his robe and the shield and everything. I don't know.
Come up to my place. I bought a set of whites and blacks from Vallejo. So I've got ivories, and so you got some stuff that's got more gray or tan mixed in, so you can get some depth in your cloak.
Yeah.
Rather than just white.
It's the same as like normal art,
Yeah.
painting. You don't want to go absolute. You don't want absolute white. You don't want absolute black.
Yeah, the problem is they sell it as white Scottish
Well, yeah,
white.
I agree. Yeah.
So just
That is how they sell it, but that's not really what you want.
yeah. And I'm using it on Necron, so I'm making like I've got a unit of the Lich Guard, and they're like the unrusted super elite of my army, and I wanted them to be in all white and gold armor, and they just don't look where I want them. All of the detail of the model feels like it's lost in this white, so that's why. I guess my hobby in this week, I did the Skorpek Lord, which is like maybe halfway done. And I did what is that guy called? The Resurrection.
The big Cryptek War of the Worlds guy.
Resurrector?
Huh?
Resurrector?
The
The guy
Resurrection.
from War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I cannot think of what that thing's called right now.
Generator?
I think Reanimator might actually be.
Yes, it's Cryptek Reanimator, I think.
Yeah.
Because the other
Sounds
one's
right.
the...
The guy looks sweet, but it's probably not going to be great and competitive.
Yeah, so, by the way, if I didn't learn so much from the Skorpek Lord, the Reanimator would be my favorite model to paint. But I cleaned up my Reanimator. I had too much lighting effects on it. And I worked on, like I said, the sword effects on the Skorpek Lord. And got that to where I'm really happy with it. It's just with the color scheme I use, they work, the teals work really good for glow effects, but they don't look as good on power weapons as the greens do. So it took me a little bit to get it figured out, but I'm actually happy with where it's going. And even though I'm not going to field a ton of these models unless they get new good rules, I'm extremely happy with how the army looks, and I think it's going to look amazing on the table. So I guess with that, we will move into, we're going to discuss these lists, actually. So we'll start going over those. And so we're going to discuss, for simplicity's sake, the top 4 lists from each of the last 2 tournaments. And pretty much we're just going to go over them so y'all know what was in them. And then we're going to kind of blanket discuss the meta, because there's a lot of people talking about the strategies that were used. And if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably listening to other competitive podcasts. So we don't want to kind of have the same exact topic as everybody else, but I do think it is good to go over the lists. So what I'd like to do is just kind of everybody take a list around the table, and we'll just keep going until we get them all done, just so I don't have to read for 20 minutes.
Well, we'll just start with if you guys, like I said, you guys have listened to the other competitive podcasts. You probably listened to the 40K Stats podcast from Frontline Gaming, and they interviewed the winner. So you can hear his thoughts on his list and whatnot. But
Both winners have been interviewed on
yeah,
other podcasts.
But they discussed that maybe the Australian GT had an interesting mix of players. He was like, it was about a 1/3 like super competitive players, 1/3 we're drinking beer and playing 40K players, and like a third of people that just got into like 40K. So he's like, you might see, not all the lists were going to be honed to a rate.
Yeah.
So,
So what would
the metagame was a little weird.
Yeah,
But
still, both these tournaments were like 30 people, right? So
One
this
was
isn't
30, one was 40.
this isn't the
Yeah.
entire meta of. This is just
Yeah, but I'm
these
just-
were the first tournaments we've had
Well,
in a while since all
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah, but I just want to say, even the organizer of the tournament was like, it's kind of a mix. So the Vanguard Tactics Grand Series put on by the guy. He has a podcast and a YouTube, and he's putting out content about this, so it's out there. Was won by Salamanders. So I think everybody knows that Space Marines are good.
Yeah.
We knew there was going to be
What?
some. Yeah, shocking. So basically, he played a very mobile list that could collect, like, he talked about engage on all fronts was like the thing he loved, like the thing he was like guaranteed to do.
Yeah.
He took a Land Speeder Tempest, which is a Forge World model that kind of got left behind at only 80 points, and it gets to move like 24 to 35 inches if it advances and it becomes hard to hit. So, and he talked about he always deep struck. He plays 3 squads of aggressors. And one of the squad of aggressors with the Flamestorm gauntlets, he always deep struck. He had a jump pack lieutenant. He had the Tempest. He had Outriders. He had ways to get up the battlefield to get engaged on all fronts.
Yeah.
And continually get them forward. But the basis of the list was he took a successor chapter. So he had Stealthy, got cover, more than 12 inches away, and he had the Marksman. So he got extra range on his flamers.
An extra range on
All his weapons, but the flamers are like 11-inch flamers on his aggressors. So he had aggressor squads that could run forward and just flamer the hell out of the stuff.
And
His,
30 inches on his Eradicator.
yeah, 30-inch
That's-
Eradicators, double.
It's only 3 inches.
Oh, it's only 3 inches.
I'm sorry,
Still
27-inch Eradicators.
Still
So I
pretty
don't
good.
want to misinform anybody.
No,
You
but-
only get 3 additions.
I was thinking of the
Yeah.
the guard
So-
one's 6 inches, right?
Most things are 6 inches, but they don't include flamers. That's what makes the salamander one so good, or the marksman one so good.
So, and he had scouts. So he played basically his troop choices. He played a captain on a bike, so another very mobile unit.
Yeah.
He had intercessors and scouts because he played a patrol. That was his troop choice. So he gets the scouts. He can deploy them out on the first turn to help get his engage in all fronts. And then Outriders and the Tempest, obviously very, very mobile and can push forward. And then 3 squads of aggressors of a squad of 5 with the Boltstorm gauntlets, a squad of 6 with the Flamers, and a squad of 3 with the Flamers.
Yep.
So, and then Eradicators. So obviously the aggressors are big durable units. They're toughness 5, and they're Space Marines. So,
Yeah.
And he gets to run them forward because they can advance with no penalty and flamer the hell out of things from 11 inches away. It did a lot of work. And he talked about he scored almost max points every round. He said Killmore usually worked pretty well for him. Space Marines, but the engage on all fronts was one he pretty much took every round. And he just kind of pushed forward and held half the board and made him slog through aggressors, which is
He also took a drop pod with grab dudes in it.
No, that's a
That's
different
a
one.
different list.
That's a different list.
that was,
Salamanders?
Alex,
He did have a drop pod.
Oh yeah, it's in dedicated transport. I missed it.
oh yeah,
Yeah, he
Yeah,
took a squad of 5 Devastators, 4 grab cannons,
Yep.
yeah.
and a drop pod, which you can do on the first turn.
Do on the first turn, yeah.
And that's not
I
even
did
look how many points that
That's all we heard.
68. Yeah, that's less than 200 points.
Yep.
Like, I feel
That's
like every
crazy.
Space Marine list should almost be in that.
yeah, everybody's. Well, not
I mean, yeah, but a lot of people were doing it, and like it's very mobile.
Yeah, so you can scout deploy in there on that quarter of the board.
Both HQs are mobile.
Drop in a drop pod with grav cannons right over
Landspeeder.
there.
That list has a
Landspeeder,
shit ton of
jump
mobility
pad.
in it.
Yeah.
Actually.
And then you're backing it up with the aggressors are not the fastest units, but they get to advance
It
every
turns
turn.
out, like,
So
in
on
that
turn,
list, the aggressors are almost your second wave.
yeah,
Like,
that's kind of what it
they're
is.
kind of bringing up the rear.
The aggressors are the second wave that come in after the speeder and the outriders and everything push forward towards you and kind of slow your army down because
Yeah.
you're going to stop the deal.
Well,
with
we'll
these
go
units.
more in depth on that stuff though.
But I'm just saying
once we get them all read.
that's the gist of the list that played the Salamanders list that he pushed forward with his fast units and backed it up with aggressors and eradicators. And
Yeah.
Oh, by the way,
Spoilers. That's going to be a theme of most of the lists: is push forward and then put something thick on there. Troy, do you want to read the second place list next? It's Death Guard. I feel like that's right up your alley.
So Nurgle?
Yeah.
we can read that. He did some interesting things. Number one, he took 3 detachments, and for the most part, we've all been under the assumption that 3 detachments is almost unplayable for how low command points you gotta get.
Yeah.
But he went that way anyway, and I actually like what he did. He took a kind of weird aligned for his first patrol. It was just Nurgle, not Death Guard or Demons, so he could get like kind of everything. A little mishmash. He did take Demon Princes. I particularly don't like Demon Princes, but in Death Guard, they're the best.
Yeah, they're durable.
They give you the reroll ones and the sagging powers. Like nothing, you get your Chaos Lord, you don't get the sagging powers. You get your sorcerers, you don't get the reroll. So I can understand it. And he took 3 Plague Burst Crawlers. He went with the entropy cannons, which some people have been talking about, and I've kind of messed around with. The Flamers just don't seem where you want to be right now. Even though they're really good because you can shoot them in combat, you're not going to push your Plague Burst crawlers up the board. That's what the rest of the list is for. You took the drill and 10 Marines in it. I didn't actually know the drill was available in Death Guard.
Me either.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. And I've been trying to get Plague Marines to work, and it's just not happening. So
Also, to clarify, it's the Terex Pattern Termite Assault Drill, and it's under Forge World.
Yeah.
I had some people asking us, like, I did get a question last week about what the bird was.
Oh.
So I clarified the response. I do want to make sure we're not doing our local nicknames for everything, just in case we're
it is the only drill, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I want to specify Forge World where
this
they can
is
find
available in AdMech and regular Space Marines and apparently Chaos Space Marines.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All-
which is
all
awesome. I did not
Marines
know that.
And Astra Militarum.
It's only 136 points.
I mean, it's a pretty expensive transport.
It is,
it's-
but it holds 12, not just 10, which is big.
It's T8,
It's T8.
and it has a Melta and actually melee is pretty.
Well, it moves Death Guard, which is what they need.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it gets your Plague Marines up the board. Your 4-inch movement, 5-inch movement.
Or you could just, well, because it's a T8, so you can just run it up the board if you want to against some armies. Or,
Well, don't you have to declare your deep strikes on paper now?
yeah,
No.
no.
I think you still
Before
get
the
to decide before the game goes.
Okay.
Well, it has the ability. So it's just like one of those. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's
Gotcha, gotcha.
so you can deploy it off the table underground, and then on the second turn or more, it can pop up. And the reason I did this in AdMech and I put the Fulgurite Electro Priests in it, the melee ones, I got away from it because the ability, the way it works is once it comes from underground, you have to disembark. But you pop up, everyone has to get out.
Yeah.
So I
With
said,
a melee only army, it's just 50-50 on whether you get in. Less than 50.
well, we did the math. It's 47% with a reroll on your charge. So if I fail my charge, my dudes that is melee are standing there like, well, Mr. Charge, guess we're just going to stand here and get shot.
But
But with Marines, they can shoot.
Yeah, Squad of Plague Marines, where now you can update their bolters to rapid fire 2. You can make them plague weapons. Like, you can do a lot of tricks. Even though he didn't have that many CP, I'm not sure how often he was doing those kind of tricks, but just spawning, T5 disgusting resilient dudes right in your line.
Yeah, I
out
agree.
9
I
inches
don't need
away.
to make that charge. I get fire.
Yeah, you
And
come
Plague Burst Crawlers move well too. So those, and the thing is like those getting touched, it's not really that bad. Like if they're banging on those
Especially
all
now they keep
games.
shooting.
Yeah.
And the drill's got storm bolters and a melta and actually melees and does mortal wounds.
The real
It's not
meat
that
of
terrible.
the real meat of this list though was the 25 Nurglings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is Nurglings all over the place. Because if you look, this list actually isn't that mobile. It's
No,
Nurglings.
it's
But he-
scout deploys.
Yeah, he kind of circumvented that by just being everywhere.
I'm just going
Start
to
of the game.
clog up the middle of the board with Nurglings. And if you haven't played against Nurglings before,
They are no joke.
they are T2, but impossible to kill.
Don't get into
It wouldn't go impossible, but they are.
either.
They're tough. They're tough. That's and we've like talked several times when I was playing my like sweaty list. I was discussing. I bought a whole bunch of Nurglings. I was like, I
definitely-
think we could just
I mean,
field a
Troy's
bunch.
talked about playing.
No, yeah, it was the same time. We were just talking about just how many Nurglings. Now, I don't know what the way detachments are now, if that's really where you'd want to be. Like, he's down. He's probably started the game with like.
because
six,
he took
yeah.
chaos spawns. and
8 or 6,
pumped them
I'm
up,
guessing.
right?
Took an
Yeah.
extra relic too, so I mean,
Yeah, so he's
Well,
pretty low
4.
on
He
CP.
starts with 4.
Yeah. Well, you get 9 for the game, so. And Death Guard, like, we
not-
have some cool stratagems, but nothing like crazy good.
I do think this list could probably be tweaked down. But anyway, that
But
is the list.
The real meat, the real fast, the only fast unit was the 3 Chaos Spawns. I wouldn't say they're the real meat, but they're definitely something that are fast. They hit really hard, and you get them disgusting resilient, so they're pretty durable. The 3 Chaos Spawns, it might be something to look at, especially since you make them disgusting now.
Yeah, that makes sense. Who wants to take the third place? Is this the Custodes?
It's
Zach,
Custodes,
let's
so-
let Zach take the Custodes list.
Yeah. All right. Well, he played Solar Watch, which right off the bat kind of caught me off guard because I'm not seeing a whole lot on Solar Watch. It's been a lot of Shadow Keepers, which is my personal favorite, and Dread Host.
And the Solar Watch is something to do with movement, right?
Yeah, the Warlord trait is a 6-inch bubble that gives an extra inch to movement, and it'll let you shoot your rapid fire weapons as assault weapons.
Yeah, I
Okay.
know that it was.
So if they advance,
Oh, so
they
you
can
advance,
shoot
you
and hit
can
on
shoot.
threes,
Since
right?
yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah, and I know that they talk about this guy focused on the movement
Yeah.
part of
Yeah.
Custodes.
Well, like his warlord is just a regular shield captain on foot. So I'm guessing that he probably walks him right behind his custodian, Alaris custodians, or maybe his custodian guard.
Right.
Just runs them up the board a little faster, which is pretty cool. He's also got a shield captain on a jet bike, salvo launcher, unstoppable destroyer relic, or shield captain thing.
That's the 3 unvulnerable.
No,
No,
it's
that's
the charge away.
Oh,
It's the consolidator.
the most busted rule in all of 40K.
3 plus D3 inches. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And
that's
then he's got the 3 up
insane.
invulnerable. Then it's got some guardians with spears, 5 Alaris custodian terminators, which we all have consistently talked about being good.
Yeah,
They're really good. The Contemptor Achilles Dreadnought, which I've never fielded one myself, but he's pretty cool. Does a lot of damage to big stuff. He can do mortal wounds when he charges. Kind of neat.
yeah.
The Venatari Custodians are kind of like the Custodians version of Inceptors. They don't have quite as many shots, but they can deep strike. They have a 12-inch movement.
Saw a lot of people wanting to buy those after this weekend on Facebook. So
It's true. They ignore AP -1. So
Just statically ignore it. That's kind of strong.
if they have the buckler, I don't know. Does he have the back buckler? Or does it?
no, it says Venatari Lance
Huh.
is all they have. So it's probably just the deep strike,
Well,
honestly.
Well, or there's the 12-inch move that they fly.
Yeah,
so
yeah. There's a,
12-inch
they
move is
they
huge.
do feel like they fill a really nice niche role if you're not all in on bikes.
They're still expensive though.
Hmm?
It was like what?
55 points a piece.
yeah.
It was like, but it was like he took a squad of like 260 points or whatever. So that's
275.
Yeah,
So his guns are. It's not a pistol. It's an assault gun with a 12-inch range. Assault 2, 6, -2, 2 damage.
Hey, there's your flat damaging studs.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. The one thing Zach's always complained about, everything's D3. I wish I had flat 2 damage or flat 3 damage.
There it is. It's probably it's Forge World model you said, right?
Yes.
So that's probably why it's kind of slipped through the cracks.
And then a squad of 4 Virtus Praetors, which is squad of 4 is pretty much where I've been on.
He took all salvo launchers.
He has taken all salvo launchers, and I've toyed with salvo launchers on all of them, but I'm worried I'm gonna get ran over by 150 Termagants or something if I take all salvo launchers in my army.
Yeah.
But okay, so what is the flak version of the salvo launchers? D6,
D3.
D3.
But you're -1 to hit if they don't fly.
Right.
I mean, you're still hitting on 3s, so it's kind of.
Rerolling. Well, not rerolling them, but
No. And then he's got a Telemann Dreadnought, because why wouldn't you take a Telemann Dreadnought? 'Cause
Right.
they're freaking awesome.
Yeah.
But he's got he's got the autocannon and the fist, which I've moved on from the fist personally. I've really enjoyed the double shooty Telemanns.
Yeah, I feel like
You-
that's probably the right place to
So
be.
you were 2 fists, and then you went to 2 guns, and this guy's 1 of each.
I went
He tried one of each for a while.
and then
And then
I
all
went
he
from
did was
fist
switch
to-
plague berries, and he was like,
he
I don't
double
need
fisted for a
this.
while.
and then went to 50-50, and now I'm on double gun again. But he also took a Vindicare Assassin, which is kind of neat. I'm not a huge fan of the Vindicare, but
Which one's the Vindicare?
He's a sniper.
the sniper one.
Oh, okay. The one that everybody says you should just take.
But you also, that's not necessarily what he took every game, because if you have just one,
it could be anything.
you can change it out before the
Yeah.
game starts.
Oh, okay.
That's true.
Yeah. But
that
yeah,
100
that only works if you have just
So he
one.
had an assassin slot.
Yeah, he had an assassin slot. Most likely,
He had
he took the Vindicare most of the time. I mean, anti-stagger one probably didn't come up too much. And maybe the command point one.
The Solar Watch stratagem is a 0 CP stratagem where if a Solar Watch unit kills a character, you play it, and the next time the opponent would use a stratagem, it costs 1 additional.
Oh, it's gross.
So I don't know if maybe he was trying to work wounds off with the Vindicare Assassin and then finish them off.
Well, does
Yeah,
the Vindicare gets the detachment, right? But it doesn't get. So it
No,
wouldn't
no,
apply
he-
to it, right?
He's like a mercenary. He's just in the detachment.
Yeah, I don't think
He doesn't take away. He doesn't give.
I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think that's how that works, but if
No.
it is, that'd be
No,
Right.
he's his own thing.
Yeah.
He doesn't tax you in any way.
right.
But
You don't
can't
he
get
doesn't
anything for
yeah,
having
you don't
it.
get any benefits for it.
like, so if you took him in a Marine squad, you wouldn't lose your doctrines or anything. It's basically what it is.
Right.
And
So he
Custodes-
doesn't gain.
No, he doesn't gain anything.
Sure.
He's just there.
So I don't know if he's like working wounds off of characters and trying to finish
Probably.
them off with somebody, or
You know, if you're worried about a bunch of Marine characters and he wounds them on 2s,
Does mortals.
that was that list for the most part.
He's a little worse though now because he's only -1 to hit, right? He used to be -2 to hit. Right, the Vindicator used to be -2 to hit, but now it can only be -1 to hit.
But
But it can-
his data sheet actually says he's -2 to hit.
Well, because
So I don't know if that's
well, but it's because it still caps out at 1. But if you were +1 to shoot him, he's
It
still
just comes off.
yes.
Keep in mind that we have one more list to read from this tournament, but everybody went 5-1, and this is the guy that
Who beat the Salamanders?
guy.
Salamanders
Yeah.
was 5-0. Last round had to play Custodes, and he says he got thrashed by Custodes.
well, you can see like a lot of the Salamanders' firepower just doesn't line up with Stokes.
It's just
Not a
so
lot of
many
stuff does.
Yeah, there's
so
like
many shots. That,
But you're so high toughness and 2-up saves.
The
It's
2-up save really does
like
just
-1
shrug so
firepower.
much.
yes, but you're gonna roll some amount of ones. Like the squad
A
of.
lot of people don't roll as many ones as you.
Yes.
I know this. I know that it's
Well, I
weird.
mean, like
but
a squad of 6 aggressors getting something like almost 100 shots. Like
Right.
that's a lot of twos to have to roll.
The last game we
Well,
played,
they also, it's hard to convert wounds on them because they're
Yeah,
the
they're
T5.
They're T5.
Well, in the
But so are the things you're trying to kill.
but in they have a stratagem to give them +1 to wound flamers
That's true.
in the Salamanders.
Yeah.
maybe just
No, it's not a stratagem. That's just what they get when they're in their tactical doctrine.
That's what it is.
Meltas and flamers get
Is that
+1
which one's the tactical? Is it the
Yikes.
first one?
That's the
the
first
second
one.
one.
The second.
Second one.
No, yeah. Second.
So you have it on turn 2 and turn 3 because that's the one you don't have to
You
move.
don't have to move till the next turn.
Yeah. So 2 and 3.
Maybe just strikes him early on the first turn.
But still, you're only wounded on.
They only have a 5-inch movement, so maybe you just outmove them and you take away their.
But still, you're only wounded on 4s.
I would really like to see that game because I'm not entirely sure what you're trying to do. But
I feel like Stodes are pretty mobile, and we already talked about how he kind of just avoided the middle of the board, and that's generally where your aggressors are going to be.
sure.
But
And I think if Custodes plant their feet, they have enough stratagems to hold strong
Ignore
there
AP.
to where they're
It's
going
a lot
to
of
win
two-ups.
the attrition battle.
yeah, I mean, I know that the aggressors have power fists, but I'm thinking if your Terminators go over there and punch them, you punch them through.
That's a
them.
lot of Overwatch. to
It's
take.
just a lot of Overwatch because
Yeah.
Salamanders have a stratagem to. If he puts his flamers aggressors and you're like don't want to charge those, so I'll charge the bolt
All
storm
Space
ones,
Marines have that, right?
so they could split Overwatch between
Yeah.
the two.
That's insane.
Well, I think all Space Marines, just the generic Space Marines, has it. Anything you choose another unit within 6 inches.
Yeah,
you can
they do.
They can-
They do.
So it's like you're taking
It's-
Overwatch from.
It's 3 units within 6
Also,
inches
like-
of that guy.
He had like 5-6 salvo launchers. Each one of those is probably a dead aggressor.
That's true. That is true. They don't have. Well, they
The
well, they
bolters.
have 2-up saves. They do not have.
Yeah, he kind of gamed it because the bolters probably would have been bad in that.
And the
match.
Vinatari Custodians
Yeah,
probably
the
match up pretty well in that
Lances, yeah.
game too. So they got to get through Overwatch, but
Yeah,
still.
so the Salamanders only lost in the entire tournament was to this Custodes list who took and lost pretty early. I didn't look to see what he lost to, but he lost like in round 2 and then won out.
probably lost to something with mortal wounds. That's about the only way I could see to beat that list easily, like handily.
Just couldn't put that anywhere.
I'm gonna read the last list. It's let's see here. It is so the 4th place list is Harlequins, and this is almost the list that I was kind of high on, except for I forgot you could take more than 3 transports. So it's basically even further leaned into that. So it is just a single battalion list. The mask form is the Soaring Spite, Serpent's Blood. And he did spend 3 CP to take 2 extra relics. So he's got a Shadow Seer, a Troop Master. He's got 6 units of troops, and
all with fusion, I think.
they all have
All
fusion.
fusion
Yes,
pistols.
and they're all playing. Now, see, he did the same thing. I was.
-4.
-4. Yeah, Zach remembers
What's the range on the fusion pistol?
Zach
So-
remembers.
He did take a combination of 2 units with Harlequin's Blades, 2 units of Harlequin's Caress, 1 unit of Harlequin's Kiss, and 1 unit of Harlequin's Embrace. Now these are all different, and I'm sure he did the same thing I was looking at. Is he was like, these are gonna hold here, these are gonna move into the other person's line.
He took 6 squads and he's got 4 transports.
Yeah,
So he left all the regular blades back.
yeah,
That's what
probably
made- He put all
He just
the
left the 2
all
squads
the
of blades.
all the weapons
all the
with-
free ones back.
Yeah, all the weapons that actually do something. He put them in the transports.
Yeah, but even that, then he's got 3 different choices. So
One-way strike.
You can web blade strike, yes. So he might have done that.
So then in his elites, he's taken the standard Death Jester Solitaire combo.
Solitaire gets like what 20 attacks or one turn.
He gets like 10.
It's insane.
It's like a
They've
bazillion
actually,
attacks.
I haven't found the White Dwarf. It's really hard to find right now, but they've actually added you don't have to take that ability with Solitaire. There's other abilities. They're on Battle Scribe, but I haven't really messed around with them.
So this Solitaire has Blitz,
He has
which is
Blitz.
the
Okay,
ability.
So he took the Blitz. Yeah. That's the one he's always had.
Yeah, you get 10 attacks, and if you charge and.
You
whatever
should
turn.
take Blitz like every time, right?
Well, there's other ones.
Yeah,
But that one's real.
it's really good.
I think they're all pretty good.
So then next he has a unit of 5 Skyweavers, a unit of 3 Skyweavers, and another unit of 3 Skyweavers, all in on Haywire Cannons and Zephyr Glaives. Basically the only way you should be playing them. That was where I had basically not taken the 4th Transport and the 2nd Death Jester. And I think the 3rd unit, and I went max. I went 3 units of 5 Skyweavers, so I was doing 15 of them with the same loadout.
But you had less transports.
That's what I said. I cut a transport, a troop unit,
transports,
and a
I think,
Death
are just
Jester.
So good.
The
Yeah.
transports are very good.
I forgot that you could take more than 3 though.
80
That's why.
points, They
Well,
have 2 cannons.
Because it's a
Well, no.
transport.
They
Yeah.
get the shoot out of them.
Yeah, they're
That's
open
it.
top.
Yeah.
So what you do is, so then he's got 4 Star Weavers with Shuriken cannons, which I think is the only thing they
Yeah,
can
they
take.
get 2 Shuriken. There's no options.
Yeah. So what you do is you throw your Melta shooting units of troops in the transport,
Run 'em
fly
forward.
across the board, and you Melta everything.
Your caresses, your kiss, your
No,
embrace.
those are their.
No.
That's the
That's just
Fusion
when they get
pistol.
knocked
Literally,
out.
they have Meltas pistols.
They have Melta pistols.
and they can shoot out of the vehicle. So they and the Venom can advance and they
No.
can shoot. Doesn't it have like a really far advance if you advance it or
It
something?
does, but they don't get to shoot.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying, but you can like.
You can just
slingshot them across the
get
board.
across
I
the
think
board.
it auto advances 8 or 6, something like that.
Yeah, but I'm saying it moves like 16 inches or whatever.
You don't even need that though with the new board size.
Yeah,
like
but-
just standard board size,
Well, the pistol's only.
6 inches.
Yeah.
But you've got, I think it's like 18 inches is what the Sky or the Star Weaver moves.
Oh my god.
It's
So
a very mobile army, but
they're-
it's actually pretty frail.
they're Melta pistols, so the half range thing
It's
stuff
3 inches.
3 inches, yeah.
Yeah,
gotta be pretty close.
yeah. But the thing is, they're pistols, so they can shoot in melee.
Sure.
And-
All I know is Zach found out the hard way. That's why we found Troy played it once when he got in there.
I had one.
And he
I
ran
got-
up. Zach was like, "Whatever. I don't care if this transport gets near my tank."
What?
Yeah, that's the habit. It's like, no saves.
so
Take 20.
if I had infinite dollars, this would have been the second army I
That
built.
list is not cheap.
No,
it
the
is not.
Sky Weavers are so expensive. Not the Sky Weavers.
The bikes are expensive.
The bikes.
Pretty much
The
everything.
yeah, the Sky Weavers. The Star Weavers aren't as
But
bad.
but the gist of this list, it's kind of glass cannony, but it's super mobile.
Yeah, I mean,
Nothing's really.
I don't
tough.
think this feels glass cannon at all. Because
No,
if you
that's
go
actually-
second, you're on them and you delete their
Well, I'm just-
entire
but I'm
line.
just
Do they have a way to redeploy?
I don't know.
You can redeploy the 3 characters.
But what I'm saying is,
Can you redeploy?
they don't have. a lot
They
of
are
toughness.
fragile. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not fragile as far as not that like you're.
They have to be
always
close
apart.
to each other, too.
But there's nothing that has an incredibly good save. Nothing with a.
Like, yeah, you deep strike on that list, and it's going to fall apart real quick. Which is probably what happened with the Custodes list, if he played them.
Yeah, if that
And the
was his
Salamander
loss.
list. Like, it's like...
He only lost once.
Yeah, I feel like this list is just like momentum. Like
But it's really offensive. It's really going to get up in your face and melt some stuff.
it's gonna put you on tilt because it's gonna put so much firepower on your line on the first turn that I think it's gonna make you make bad
But
decisions.
it's all heavy firepower, so if you're running like a horde or something, you might not be in a good spot.
See, that's
No,
what he-
because the Sky Weavers are insane versus hordes. The bikes will clean up massive units of hordes on their own. Like this, I feel like it's it's probably Custodes. They just didn't kill what Math said they should kill because of 2-up, 4-ups. I feel like this would be a really rough matchup for the Salamanders guy because he doesn't have the invuls to protect him from high AP.
But he does have 2-up saves, so he's at least getting a save.
Yeah, he's getting a save, but not a good
Well,
one.
Haywire
no, I
doesn't
guess
do
they're
anything
not
to
going to get a
regular
save
Marines.
because you have 6-inch range guns,
a bolter.
and they only get the +1 to save at 12 inches. So
If
you
I'm
negated that entire ability.
if I'm just looking at lists and I'm going through like what looks cool, if I'm just reading them, I'm like, that looks awesome. It's like buy this unit, buy this unit, buy this unit. There's my army.
That's Harlequins in general. Like,
Yeah, that's every
almost-
unit. That's their whole
That's
codex
almost
right
every
there.
unit in Harlequin. The only thing
Yeah.
not there is the tank.
Yeah.
This is just like,
And their tank is the same model as the transport.
yeah. I mean, this is sweet
That's,
looking.
Yeah.
basically the whole one.
But it's
paper, it's
expensive.
very
It's so
appealing.
expensive.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
So anyway, that list, I'm super digging it. Like I said, if I had infinite dollars, that's the Harlequins
I
list
think
I
there's
would
some
buy.
issues with that list. Like, it definitely falls to a lot of things. I don't think it just run over everybody you play against.
Well, also the Shatterseer is a psyker, and I think there's one other psyker in there
No,
too.
there's not.
No, there's just one. So
And what did you take? Twilight Pathways?
I believe so. Yep.
Yep, that's just warp time.
Yeah, Troy is dabbled in space clowns.
Yeah. I mean,
so he sends a transport up. You give him the warlord trait. You hop out, and then you warp time the transport, and you can get like 32-inch movement. Because you can give the warlord trait lets him get out after it moves, which is before the psychic phase. So you run
that's
him up
insane.
there, run him up there, hop out, send him,
Hey,
32 inches in.
carry on.
Boys. And then if you want, you can have a second one come up and pick him up and fire and fade him into the.
Gross.
Seems bananas. I feel like, and if somebody out there is selling a Harlequins army for cheap, get a hold of me. I might buy it from you.
Yeah, email the show.
I've seen a few, but they've been all the old Harlequins.
Yeah. It's mostly the Skyweavers. I could get some troops off Troy and figure that out. It's the bikes that I'm concerned with. So
Well, fusion pistols is a problem because you get 2 in a box.
If you bring more armies in,
look, I don't play WYSIWYG, okay? That's-
Yeah, I know. If it was just between us, I would put. But if you wanted to go to a tournament, you'd have to be and get on the bait side or something.
Nah, most tournaments aren't even WYSIWYG. As long as it's defined on your sheet, especially if it's all the unit carrying the same thing, it's real easy to be
I
like,
have one unit with all fusion cannons because I bought 3 boxes and I gave them all fusion cannons.
oh my god.
Because a lot of people are just like, they couldn't pick out whether. They don't know what gun is on that. They're just like,
I don't know why you only get 2 in a box because you can take.
Well,
No, because you have to
Well-
buy more boxes.
I
yeah,
guess.
like Skitarii. You get 10 Skitarii in a box, but you only get one of each special weapon, but you can carry 2 in a squad of 10. You
There
can
you
carry
go.
3 in a squad of 10. So you're like, oh, I only got 2 plasma rifles. Like, this sucks.
Yeah. So anyway, that was the top 4 there. Let's move on to the next 4. We'll try to get through these a little bit quicker, and then I kind of want to discuss how we would approach, if this were the meta, how we would approach the list building, which is kind of the meat and potatoes of what I wanted to discuss, but we'll see how much we can actually get done on that as far as that conversation goes. So, Chad, you ready to read that orcs list, which took first?
Well, here's an idea. We'll just tell you. All the buggies.
Yeah.
Lots of buggies.
No boys, just buggies.
That's the big surprise. He didn't actually have any troops.
Yeah, so it was just an Outrider, a War Boss on a bike, a Death Killer on. He's not even ready. Death Killer. He's gonna laugh through the names. Death Killer,
I am-
War Trike. It says 3 Megatrack Scrap Jets times 2, so 2 units of 3 Megatrack Scrap
A
Jets.
squadron.
A Shock Jump Dragsta, a Custom Boosta Blasta, a Doom Booms Daka Snaz Wagon.
Boom Deck Snazwagon.
10 War Bikers, and then heavy support, a Bone Breaker, and 2 Bone Breakers,
Bone Breakers.
and Burn a Bomber. That's the list.
So
That's
is,
it.
Is the scrap jets? That's not the flyer.
No, that's the vehicle with the big jet on the back of it.
Okay. Okay.
But he's got the burner bombers to do
He's
the.
got a burner.
He says spend 6 pregame CP on Outriders, Fortress, the biggest boss, and a second relic.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he didn't take a patrol or battalion, so he has to pay 3 for the outrider just by himself. Because you can't
Jesus.
refund that.
He's doing
Yeah.
a flying headbutt. Betcha.
Yeah, I don't know what the plan, how this list did so well.
Super mobile.
It is super mobile, but they're very random shots. So maybe he rolled super hot because the shots are extremely random on most of these models, like to a ridiculous degree, and they're not tough and they don't have invuls. So
He just, like Zach said, he headbutt him.
People were reading the names of the guys and like, that's not real.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need
Oh,
to see
Boom
one.
Deck Snazwagon is one of my.
Like, come on, you're just making stuff up now.
Should be my new screen there.
The tighter deployments, the flying headbutt is a
And
lot better.
he seemed to like the jets a lot, so there must be something to that.
everything moved insanely far, right? Like he definitely is on your shit if he goes first, but it's just like the quality of shots are not good. Like
Well, that's orcs.
I can't imagine putting this list up against a Custodes or a Space Marine list
But
and
we've seen that
shit
multiple
happening.
times. Like, you don't need quality of shots. You don't actually have to kill
Stuff.
your opponents to win in this edition.
That's true. I just feel like
I just feel like he was flying around and there's people that couldn't do anything about it, and then he just collected a bunch of
I just feel like he probably rolled hot, and he's a really good
Well,
player.
he took 660 points in scrap yet. So
I'm just wondering about
obviously he had faith in those, whatever those are.
We need to spend some more time.
Yeah, we don't.
researching scrap jets.
I certainly don't know much about.
But I'm just
those.
wondering what he did in secondaries, because there is two whole sections basically that he can't do.
Can't do.
Yeah, you can't do any action.
Can't do it. No.
Oh yeah, he doesn't have movement.
No,
as far as I can tell, War Bikers probably not in.
He doesn't have any psychers either, so
No
I get
psychers.
to pour the witch whenever he plays against him.
True.
Yeah,
but overall, looking at all these lists, Psychers seem pretty low count. Like they're.
so it doesn't seem like
get
it
punished
seems like he
super
has a
hard by
limited.
any sector list.
all right, I'm gonna read you the Megatrack Scrapjet. All right, it's 110 points. It's got a 10-inch movement, 4+ melee, a 5+ shoot, T6, strength 6, 9 wounds, 4 attacks, and it's got a nose drill. So it's got +2 strength, D3 damage, -2 AP. It's got a 2D3 rocket cannon, which is strength 8, -2, flat 3 blast. A twin big shooter, 36-inch, assault 6, strength 5, no AP, 1 damage, and then wing missiles, assault 1, strength 8, AP 2, flat 3 damage, and it adds 1 to rolls against vehicles and subtracts 1 from rolls against non-vehicle targets.
I mean, none of
For
this seems
110
right.
points, it's got. What,
But it's
6
everything's
guns?
hitting on 5s.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
That's
worse.
how it works.
But every 6 is an extra hit.
Yeah, every 6 is an extra hit.
So I mean,
He's got 6 of those.
Yeah.
That's a lot of shots.
A lot of pretty.
for
A lot of-
110
strength.
points.
That's a lot of strength 8 shots.
Yeah, you got 12 D3, strength 8 shots.
Times 6.
Times 6.
No, total 12 D3.
Oh,
That's
Oh,
that's
oh, they have 2d3 per.
yeah.
Okay.
So
And then he's
12
got
D3.
6
I
shots.
got
on the
super
big
excited
shooter.
like you.
Yeah,
I was
it's
like, oh my
sick.
Is
god.
it 6 shots or 12? Because it says there's 2 of them.
It's an assault 2D3 rocket cannon.
No, the big shooter.
2 twin big shooters.
Twin. It's called twin big shooter.
And he has 2 of them.
Yeah.
Each
So
one.
assault 12 on those.
So 24 for each. Or
12 for each.
12 for each.
Yeah.
Times 6.
Yeah, I mean that sounds nice.
So it's like 72 shots.
It seems.
But you got to cut off a huge portion of them just to banking on math.
well, yeah,
to
but,
miss, so-
but we're just saying you're just throwing.
And their strength 5, which we talked about, is
It,
kind of like the
it
new-
should be. It's the same price as a repulsor. I mean,
It's
No,
110
no.
points.
No, he said no. He's talking about the whole squad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like the whole squad is the same price as a regular repulsor, which has that many guns too. It should be.
It should kill.
It should
the
kill.
It should.
Yeah, I don't want to play against that.
It's pretty nice. And they got what's their movement?
10 inches.
Yeah.
Do they
they're
auto
mobile.
advance?
They seem
like-
good. I don't think they're busted.
No,
they
but,
definitely
yeah.
seem good.
And the army is just super mobile.
I mean, that's obviously the bulk of his army. Like, definitely.
It's almost half his
Yeah.
points. So.
It's
Yeah.
just, it's just super mobile. He
It's
can
over a
just-
quarter.
I just feel like he can keep his important units away from your important units and collect like.
Well, he doesn't have any important units. They're all
I mean,
just
I'm-
vehicles.
but I
Like,
think, well, but I was thinking that he's just banking on those to do like the heavy lifting.
I think but you gotta like roll 5s and 6s. Like,
Well, yeah.
I mean,
that's
isn't
just
that,
But
over
with
in
that
general.
volume, you don't have to. If you're gonna get hits,
He's getting 72 shots a turn. I mean,
yeah.
half of them are
and
going to hit.
extras on 6s, so
yeah, but say he played again. No, it's 5s. So
33%.
33% are gonna hit.
But
And then if he
six-
plays,
are they-
and then but like if he plays against Custos with that,
actually,
they have 2 ups on everything.
Actually, you're probably closer to half because a half of those that third is going to generate an extra hit, so you're
Yeah.
pretty close to half.
And do they stay as a group or do they squadron?
Let me
probably
read.
stay.
I think they stay as a
So
group.
you could
Yeah, they
play
are a
your
group.
Or DACA or whatever, and then
yeah.
all your hits double.
Yeah.
If it stays as a group, that makes those.
Yeah, they stay as a group.
So yeah, so I mean, but basically the gist of this army is high mobility, got some volume of shots, and a little bit of
It
punch.
almost seems like he gamed it like everyone was expecting vehicles, and he kind of just was like, "I'm expecting a bunch of Marines and stuff."
Yeah.
So your high AP shots weren't great against him because he just had a bunch of mobile bikes.
Even his warlord was on a bike.
Yeah.
Everything-
No. I'm just saying, out of the 5 lists we've read so far, this is 100% the list I would prefer to play against. Like,
Maybe.
alright.
I don't want any of this army.
I would think I'd personally rather play against the Death Guard list. I really should.
I feel like
a bunch of nurglings and stuff.
I think
I
it's-
would probably get. I mean, I'll get dumpstered because I could get dumpstered by somebody walking off the street with
God.
some dice.
I'm not this.
Oh,
Here we go.
So here's the thing. I
We
just
need to.
yeah. Let's keep moving. All right. Let's move on to second place. You want to read that one, Chad? Are you
Let him
ready?
read the
Are
old
you
one.
ready? Ready yet?
Oh my
This
god.
is Space Wolves.
I'll do the Space Wolf.
All right.
This was on sweet.
Yes.
I'll read the Ultramarines.
It's
I'm
dudes
just
on
kidding.
wolves.
Troy, you read
There's no
the
wolves.
you read
Yeah, I'll
the
take it.
Drukari
I'll
list.
take it.
Is Troy's resident Drakari expert.
Okay, he's got a Primaris Wolf Priest as his warlord. He's got Ragnar Blackmane, another Wolf Priest with the jump back.
Was nice. No, it's regular, not a Primaris.
I didn't say Primaris, did I?
No,
Yeah.
you said another one, but I was like, it's just a
Regular
It's
wolf
fine.
priest.
Yeah.
We got it.
2 squads of Incursors, 2 squads of Assault Intercessors. Looks like 3 squads of Wolfen. 2 of them had 7. 1 of them had 5. 2 Impulsors.
Good.
That seems like his list.
The
So
Wolfen all had thunder
how
hammers
many?
and storm shields.
How many do
That's what they do, bro.
impulsors hold? 10?
6.
6.
6 Primaris.
So he was only putting.
well, Wolf.
He probably wasn't putting any of the wolf
He's
in it.
probably no. You can't put the Wolfen in.
Probably
there.
putting,
That's
assault,
Primaris.
probably putting assault intercessors.
Probably putting
Yeah,
assault
put the
intercessors in them.
Yes.
Okay.
Or the Primaris.
So his real only footprint was the wolfen.
I mean, they got storm shields and thunder hammers. They're going to be rough to kill.
You can forward deploy or concealed position or whatever the Incursors out of
Yeah.
your own deployment zone. Steal an objective that way. An Impulsor's up in somebody's business.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like in his deployment zone, all he had was wolfen.
But Wolf and Deep Strike, right?
Maybe.
I don't know enough about them, but
But he has very little shooting.
I just know they all have thunder hammers, and that's not what you want to run into.
Yep, because they
That's
get
true.
+1 to hit. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so
their
they're-
thunder hammers are just
And they're
good.
wolfen.
Yeah, they hit on 3s, wound on 3s, most things.
So do they have the new storm shield, or do they still have the 3 of them vulnerable?
Same.
still have the 3 of them.
Okay, so that's pretty good. Yeah.
Only, what is it? Only Primaris
Only the Primaris,
new models.
I don't
new
know why we have the
Indominus
two
Captain.
different.
Yeah,
still
it's
call them both
annoying.
storm shields.
Well, it's GW. I mean,
Could have called them lightning shields or something. I don't care.
They're going to switch them all, I think, is what's going to happen. They just weren't ready.
well,
They have to fix the rules first.
yeah, and they didn't realize that, like, oh, the Custodes shield would completely bork the game.
Pork.
So
It's true.
be like, oh, well, now they have a 1-up save. Well, they're unkillable. You're like, well,
They kind of already are.
But it's definitely a very in-your-face. This,
Yeah,
is,
he's
this is
getting
the
in
most
there.
melee list we've seen.
yeah, he's got 3. He's got what? That's 19 Wolfen. They're basically 3-up save,
All with thunder hammers.
all with thunder hammers. They
Well, no, the
Ragnar
leader has to
The
take.
leader
frost
has
claws.
the claws.
So does it not count the leader? So there's actually 8 in those squads.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Ragnar Blackmane is also Primaris. So
Yeah, he's the new
He
guy.
good.
He's the new guy that's pretty. Yeah, I've heard people saying he's pretty
Beefcake.
nasty.
he
He
got
good.
7 attacks.
Yeah.
Base. So
Pretty busted.
he's pretty good.
His name is Ragnar Blackmane.
I
Yeah.
mean,
You see his model. His sword rivals Gabriel Seth's.
You want to hit us with that Drukari list
Drukari,
so we can get over and discuss the meta?
Have we heard about Ragnar Blackmane? Because like this dude is a beast.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Like,
oh, you
He's
got,
got
you
a
got a
4
stat
up
sheet?
yeah. He's got
Yeah.
4 up invulnerable. 6 wounds.
he's what, T5?
Standard.
He gives out. He lets people consolidate up to 6 inches. Whenever he gets a shock assault ability, you add 3 instead of 1.
So he's basically base 9.
His
Yeah.
starts
When he charges,
10.
he's 9.
he has 7.
So he's
So
10.
When he charges, he has 10 attacks. All right, that's
Or
cool.
gets charged.
That's cool. That's
He can
cool.
reroll hit rolls of 1
Right,
because
obviously,
he's a captain.
Reroll.
he's a Jarl.
He's their chapter master, right?
No. Well, maybe.
And he lets everybody reroll charges, failed charges.
Nice.
Oh my
So he's a beast.
Yes.
And his sword is like
Plus
Under
2,
damage.
-4, 2 damage.
so 6 minus 4, 2.
Yep.
Pretty good.
10 attacks.
10 attacks, pretty good.
attacks.
Pretty good.
Come
I
get
just
it.
want to reiterate that was
I was
10
wondering-
attacks.
I was like to point
That's
out
insane.
Ragnar fucks.
And minus 4. Your favorite.
Yeah. Everything's -4. Guard sucks.
So the Drukari list, he took 3 patrols, which I think is really powerful in Drukari. Because there's no tax for it, so it's easy. And and it lets you activate, different stratagems. So you had one that was a Blackheart, so you can take Vect. Archon gave him the Gin Blade, which is the sword I was using. Usually like 3 extra attacks, but you take a mortal wound at the end of the turn. And then he had the elf, the myth, the legend, Jazahar. Just the beast in combat.
Apparently, if you just attack always twice with him.
Well, yeah, but he's just a beast anyway. And minimal warriors, and then the second one, he had 2 homunculus and just all the racks.
Racks on racks on racks.
racks. on
So
racks.
his whole strategy was Venom spam. He had 6 Venoms with +1 to wound and extra hits on 6s for all his poison weapons. And it's just tons of movement, -1 to hit. And he also took 3 Reapers, which have a pretty high weapon profile. I'm not sure why he took them over Ravagers, but he knew something I
Also,
didn't.
Troy hates them because they're ugly.
I do not like that model at all. But it's powerful. It has 2 different fire modes. -4 on one of them.
So I'm guessing the gist of this army is Venoms are fast.
Venoms are fast because the racks are nothing. Like they're
They're just whatever. But they're fast. You get Vect for a crucial.
Yeah, Vect feels so good. I mean, it feels rough to
When you
spend 4
start with-
CP in the new
But
format.
when it's timed right, it's worth it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. Like, it does feel woof.
for some reason it says he started with 14 CP. I don't know where he's gaining CP, but to start with 12 and for free.
And
Yeah.
you want to turn, you're just like.
Yeah.
So
So Vect is pretty easy to pull out, even though it's once per battle, it's still
very
strong.
very fast list with Venoms, and then
So basically his list is in your face, and then when you kill the Venoms, just these T5, 6 up, feel no pain, 5 of them vulnerable guys pop out, and they're just hard to kill.
Seems annoying.
They're not like great in combat or anything, but they're good objective holders. They're infantry, so you can pull your actions off and stuff. And they ride well. And then he didn't have like a lot of punch, just the 3 Reapers, but he had a little bit. And then +1 to wound on your Venoms, and 6 are extra hits. That's pretty good.
Yeah. All right, Chad. Let's read the list you're getting a boner over there.
I actually don't like it, but it's fine. He played Ultramarines, Myrmidons. He had a Vindicator Assassin. He had a slot for the Vindicator Assassin, so he spent 100 points there. And his HQs were a Primaris Chaplain, a Primaris Chapter Master, which was the new captain, which was also his Warlord. He took the Vox Experitum, which is good for him, having that Mastercrafted Power Sword, and he gave him the Iron Halo, so he had an extra toughness, and he had a Primaris Lieutenant. That was his HQs. 2 Incursor squads with bolt pistols, 2 squads of 10 intercessors, regular intercessors with chain swords, an aggressor squad as an elite to go with his Relic Contemptor Dread with the 2 twin las cannons.
Yeah, that
And
makes
then
sense.
A Contemptor Mortis Dread also with 2 twin las cannons. And he maxed out a Relic Leviathan Dreadnought with 2 Storm Cannon arrays and 300 killer missiles. 365 points for that one unit.
Yeah.
I mean,
100 killers might not be bad right now. So
Is that the list?
that's
That's
the whole
the
list.
whole list.
He went for the Dreadnoughts.
He only starts
A
with
lot of people are going Incursors over Infiltrate.
he only starts with 7 CP, which is the least amount I've seen for any Ultramarines.
but you don't really spend a lot of CP, so
Yeah, you said you're always saying you're swimming in CP.
yeah,
And
I've
so,
noticed
7 is 12 for the game, so
What's he spending so much on? One is
Relics.
on the assassin, right?
no.
yeah, it's a strategy.
the Vindicator Assassin, he spends 1 on. He's got an extra relic, that's 1. 1 battalion, there's 3. He
The
doesn't.
Assassin doesn't cost you CP.
He, ha-
Incursors are cheaper.
he has to spend 2 to make the Primaris Chapter Master
Oh, okay.
because he
there we
doesn't
go.
have.
Yeah,
He's
you
only
spent-
got 1 detachment though, right? It's
you
just a
spent,
battalion.
you spent 4 on 2 HQs.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where it is. Okay.
And then 1 for an extra relic, so that's fine.
Jesus.
So he spent 2 CP on 2
That
HQs.
chaplain's doing work though. It has a lot of.
So he gave him an extra Warlord trait, and what else is the other CP?
So one of the CPs is a relic there. One
Yeah.
of the CPs is Hero of the Chapter. It's a stratagem.
Okay, so that's
Master
what it is.
Sanctity, an extra Warlord trait, wise
Yeah, he
orders.
gave him both Warlord trait and he gave him Master Hero of the Chapter or whatever that is. Did he give him the relic that lets him reroll all the ones?
He did not give him that cheaty relic. No.
Oh. So, first off, that list definitely looks like extremely against the grain of almost every other list in there. Like, it's very much plant your feet in the ground and still castle up. It's kind of, I don't know.
He definitely you can see his castle right here on paper with the chaplain, the chapter master, the lieutenant, and the dreadnought. They all just sat in a corner.
Well, they can move, right, with no penalty now. So they're not, I mean, but it's just slow moving compared to everybody else. But it's a lot of firepower.
Units and put them in a
Murder.
little circle.
It was a
and
Death,
said,
it was a
"Come
Death
get it."
Star.
Definitely doesn't seem like one that would take Wally Stanley fight, being as he has 3 dreads.
Yeah.
Most expensive models.
And
it's an anti-vehicle meta for sure.
Yeah. I don't know.
The list definitely looks about 6 months old.
But he's got
It worked, but
yeah, he's got 4 las cannons though, hitting on 2s. Well, hitting on 3s from the 1. But
I like the aggressors a lot.
well, I mean,
Yeah, aggressors are good. Got it.
Yeah.
spoilers.
Yeah. Wait, is this some more Chad tech? Good
Well,
models are good?
but they're the only thing in his army that like fits that profile, so they're pretty easy target unless you deep strike.
He had to take another elite because he wanted the Relic Contender Dreadnought. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that was a good one to take.
No, it seems good.
I mean,
I,
it was good.
Yeah, I don't have any qualms with. I mean, I don't think that's the list for the meta. So
He did
I know
do
we're a ways in, and I'm okay with going a little bit long on this because I do want to actually discuss this a fair amount. So with that meta, let's just say we weigh the first tournament 2-1 for it being a more serious tournament, right? So we'll say out of 12 lists, we've got 1, 2. Let's see here.
Some odd math going on.
3.
And there are only 8 lists.
There's only 8 lists.
Yeah, I'm saying we weighed it 2-1.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
The-
I see what you're saying, but it's like,
Well, if they say that the judges in the Adelaide tournament were playing in it
Sure,
and
sure,
it was not serious, I'm just gonna say, or it wasn't as serious compared to a tournament that
I
had like
understand what you're-
Beers were
Some-
had.
compared to a tournament with real names. We'll just weigh the top 4 of the first tournament as if it were top 8 in the same list
If I'm
double.
going to a tournament and there's beers to be had, I'm gonna have beers.
Well, I'm having beers too, but this is just to like build for the meta. So the big key to take away from it in broad strokes is how many Space Marines did we have? So we've got Ultramarines, we got Space Wolves, which we're going to count as that, Salamanders.
Although that army was pretty melee, it didn't have much shooting at all.
Yeah, but it's still Space Marine saves,
It was, but yeah,
it's still Space.
saves wise, yes, it's true.
which is what we're thinking about trying to beat as
T4
far as,
bodies generally.
Yeah.
3 up save.
yeah. So then we got the Salamanders, which counts as 2 more, and then we're not going to put Custodes in the Space Marine category, but
not.
They're not.
yeah, we're
They're
gonna
their own thing.
We're gonna put. So I say we rate it as. So we were just gonna do the Space Marines are like the middling tier armies, and then I would say that the super durable ones. You would say there's 2 Death Guards and 2 Custodes would be the super tough armies, and then as far as mobile armies, you've got an Orc army, a Drakari army, and 2 Harlequins list.
I think
Does
the
that
Space-
sound? Does that sound like about what the
I think
meta would
the
be?
Space Marine armies were pretty mobile too. But
Well,
The-
but yeah, the Space Marines can be whatever they want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can do whatever they want.
They, I mean, they
Oh,
do
we're
3.
putting
They do
them
3 very different things just here.
Right
like,
here.
yeah,
One melee, one.
But from an aspect of trying to beat it, so the way I see it is we're trying to beat. So we've got a pretty solid meta though. So like tough. I mean, it's basically 30% on everything with that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 4 of each,
Yeah.
which is kind of hilarious. I didn't expect that to work out. So, what do you do, Zach, as a Custodes player, after seeing that and using this data? Say this is our metadata. Everything Zach has is falling on the floor today.
He just broke his sunglasses.
Broken sunglasses, dropped his phone.
people are gonna
As
be
a
like,
Custodes player,
What do you take away from this, and what changes do you make to what you're playing right now?
man, as Custodes, I don't know. Like,
I don't have to change.
I don't really.
I am the
have-
meta.
I
Like,
don't-
do you feel that you're just where you're at is as good as it gets?
He was so close with his list, though, to that. I mean,
Yeah, like
Yeah, outside the Forge World, you basically
yeah, I think I might drop my second Telemon to go to more Terminators, but that's just little stuff. But I think if you wanted to do something like Custodes, I think are pretty much you play them how you play them. Like there's not a whole lot of tweaking to be done. You only have so many models. and they're really good at what they do anyway. But if you're going to go to something else like Blood Angels or other Space Marines in general, I think I could give a little bit more insight there.
Okay.
Like a lot of people are playing in cursors right now, which get to forward operate or get to forward scout deploy, but they don't have the jammers like the infiltrators do. And since so many armies are deep striking, I think infiltrators might be a better play now. That way you can start denying where they can even put their models, because it seems like everybody's rushing forward.
Yeah.
And like everything's about being in your face so fast. Like I think Invictor Warsuits might be good. I think infiltrators try to deny your opponent from getting to do that kind of stuff is gonna be really good. And even with the aggressors from the Salamander guy that was doing deep strike stuff, if you have infiltrators near units, it doesn't matter that he got 3 inches. He still has to deploy outside of his range.
Yeah.
So I think infiltrators could be really good.
Do the infiltrators, there is 12-inch bubble, right? Does that include deployment, or is that just for deep striking?
I mean,
Just
Like, if you both have infiltrators, can they be within 9 inches of each other?
No.
No. So they have to be 12 inches. So that's another thing, because, like you said, in
You're
curses
covering more space on a smaller
And
board.
curses are popular, and Space Marines are one of the biggest
And we
armies.
alternate deployment.
And we
You're like,
alternate deployment. There's actually some. It gives you.
yeah, exactly.
You can
That's what
actually
I'm trying to say.
deny.
Can we go back to discussing if we each all deployed our armies, how bad it would be for the player that didn't get to deploy their army first? Like whoever.
Well, right now, yes, since everybody's leaning super heavy into forward operating type of units, yeah, I can see where that could be a problem. But you could do that in 8th edition at the end, and nobody was doing it because it wasn't beneficial to do it.
Well, it was just better to kill everything in 8th edition.
So I don't know if it's always going to be like that, but I can see why I see why it's not one guy deploy, the next guy deploy right now, because taking objectives in the middle of the board in deployment is really good.
Yeah.
So
Especially if one person did it all. I can't. I feel like that would be such an uphill battle. Well, that's fair. That's some valid things. So I guess my question is, do you still stand by, after seeing some lists of what people are playing, or do you still approach it at the T5
yeah,
attack?
I don't see any reason to adjust off of that. Like,
there are going to be a bunch of aggressors everywhere.
there's aggressors are
Right.
T5, Inceptors are T5. I've heard a lot of talk this week about Inceptors. The Eradicators are T5, and that's just in the Space Marine Codex. Everything in Custodes is obviously T5. It's not better than that.
Death Guard's T5.
Death Guard's T5, like a lot of T5 and a lot of -4 AP. So
So you gotta play Invulns.
So either play Invulns or don't play tanks. Like, I can't see a way to play Astra Militarum right now. It breaks my heart, but I just don't see it. Like, you can't.
Well,
They raised the price on tanks, so you can't just out spam the -4 AP anymore. Like, they're going to be able to kill a couple a turn, and you're never going to get rid of them all.
and
So-
it's too many victory points to give up in the secondary. It's the problem I've ran into with AdMech.
Yeah, but you've been all on primaries are the only way to win the game.
No, I'm just saying they're a biggest part. But also, if you put a bunch of vehicles in your list, you're just giving your opponent an easy secondary to take.
If you think they can kill.
Well, it seems to, from the list we read tonight, it seems like everybody's teching against T8
There
vehicles.
were not very many vehicles in those lists either.
Yeah, people playing Eradicators because
Outside
they're
of
not
the,
vehicles. They're like they shrink
Yeah,
armor and they're
yeah,
not
it's
vehicles.
bad to shoot at.
So
I
I
mean,
would
I
avoid-
agree.
I would avoid most vehicles. I think the warsuits are probably still worth it, because if you get to go first, having a dreadnought in somebody's face in their lines on turn 1 is really, really good.
So I guess my next question would be, and we'll go through everybody on this, but since we're doing you, what would you feel most confident in taking to a tournament next week?
If I were going to a tournament next week, I would 100% take Custodes, just because I never play the top meta armies, and right now I'm playing one. And it feels really good. I don't see any reason not to play it. Like, they're just
I want to
super
get in a game this week with Thousand Suns too,
Would
because
you
my
take-
spoilers, my answer is Thousand Suns, but I want to get in a game this week to see if it's as good as I think it is.
Would you take 2 dreadnoughts, or are you?
If I was going to a tournament tomorrow, then I would take 2 dreadnoughts, because that's what I've been playing. But if I had more time, like another week or so, I'd probably take guessing right now, I'd probably take extra Terminators, because
They're pretty good.
How do you
I
feel
think
about
you
the Vinatari? Do you think you're going to test them at all?
I don't think so. I don't like the models, and I'm still enough of a casual player to where if I don't like the models, I'm not going to play them.
That's fair.
And you could always split the Terminators, which you did last week, and spread them.
Ooh, that was cool.
Yeah, the Unleash the Lions is really cool. But I think I would take a small squad of Terminators and then a big blob of Terminators, like the guy did with the Salamanders and deep struck the small squad of aggressors. I would do that with my Terminators, try to pick up objectives.
Just
late.
sweeping up an area.
Right. So I think I would start with the big blob on the board, and if you shoot at him, that's great for me because like you're not going to kill him
Yeah.
probably, and then I'll deep strike another set, and I could still do the deep strike behind you because I still think that's a really powerful strategy in 9th edition right now is to get behind somebody. I think deep striking units overall are really good right now.
All right.
Spoiler, they were really good in 8th too, but I think they're still good in 9th.
Well, they
Yeah.
kind of toned them down in 8th. Like, they just kept taking away everything you could do.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's in a good spot, and I like the list I'm seeing. Like, I don't think anything's feel badsy. Chad, how do you approach list building in this meta, or are you still just trying to learn how to build in Warhammer? You can just say that if that's how it is.
I don't think I can play expensive vehicles. Like Repulsor Executioners, they have all the guns. Doesn't matter what I kill in this format. Yeah, they can move around, they can carry 5 guys. So I've been tweaking it with regular repulsors. They can carry 10 dudes, add more troops. But it's still 330 points. That could be something else.
That could be 3 squads of our eliminators.
Yeah, it could be 2 aggressor
Eradicators.
squads, and
Eradicators.
like I have the Eradicators too. Like lists I'm brewing have 3 Eradicator squads in them, and a couple Outrider squads and Inceptor squad.
But here's my question. So with that being said, just to play devil's advocate with you, from your perspective, like Eradicators are good, right?
Yeah.
But we're sacrificing a repulsor slot.
Well, repulsors are transports.
The repulsors are transport.
Regular repulsor is a transport.
One
Well, you're playing the heavy.
without the
The
big
heavy.
I've been trying the other one that's a transport because I like.
Oh,
the
you switched to it.
Eradicators.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's what I was going to ask. What would you do in that situation? Because you're sacrificing a lot of firepower, or a lot of different kind of firepower, but it's definitely different.
There's no big last cannon. I mean, there is, but it's only 2 shots. But the repulsors, the lowdown plane's only 329 points, as compared to 376 for the repulsor executioners. So that right there saves like 80 points.
Yeah. No, that seems fine. I just wanted to ask you, like, had you considered, like, is it all a mental thing of fitting the models in?
I'm also not trying lists without
forget-
Bobby G,
Yeah.
which is
How'd that feel?
still doesn't feel great. Well, I felt great when I played against Zach, but I totally cheated the entire game
And still lost.
and still lost to Custodes because that's how strong they are. It was a ranching. I cheated
Yeah.
the whole game and still lost. But I don't know. I don't think I can play vehicles that cost 300 points anymore. I can just
I
be
agree.
so many other good models. I mean,
That's a lot of points for someone without an involvement.
I can try them.
When everybody's packing AP -4, and everybody seems to be packing AP -4 right now, it just seems totally useless to play a 300-point model that you just don't even get to save
The
on.
Blade Guard veterans are good. Like those, that's 630 points could be put Bobby G back in and 2 squads of Blade Guard veterans.
Eradicator.
I already have 3 squads of Eradicator.
So your homework this week is to come with a counter meta list
with no vehicles.
with no vehicles.
Does that mean
I want to hear the list next
I
week.
wouldn't. Well,
It might have 1 vehicle.
but not an expensive vehicle because you can play like a land speeders.
Yeah, I'm talking
If you-
about no 300-point
Yeah,
vehicle.
You know,
Like Dreadnoughts and
Pretty much
I-
all of this-
it might.
Pretty much all he's played.
I might be
Dreadnoughts
trying
or-
to make a list that takes advantage of the not engage on all fronts. The 3 expensive guys.
Yeah.
Always stand.
Well,
While we stand, we fight.
Yeah.
Bobby
Because
G's pretty
Bobby
rugged.
G's pretty good at that, and he's going to be my most expensive unit. And if the other ones are captains with 3-up saves,
That seems
and,
good.
And they can't be targeted.
Yeah, they just can't be targeted.
because they're next.
No, it seems good. I just want to hear the list. Troy, as a we'll say probably Demons player,
Yeah.
what does the weekend's results, if that was what you were basing your list building off of, what do you change?
I'm glad you worded it that way because right now my strategy is jam as many greater demons in the list as I can.
Yeah,
But that's probably not what I would take to a tournament.
yeah. I want for people to hear like perspective on list building because that's kind of more where I want to focus on is understanding.
Magnus Mortarion fill out the rest.
No, I wouldn't. I probably would, actually. I think they're still pretty good. They're not vehicles.
They have invuln, so they don't
have
care about
invulns,
AP
like,
minus.
They're
Eradicators-
not Titanic.
Well, they're monsters though, but
Right.
They're psychers, but good luck
But
killing
like some of
those.
the like Haywire and stuff actually cares about vehicles. I didn't mean for secondaries.
Yeah.
Because the
I did. Not being Titanic is bullshit.
Yeah, no, it's good that they're not Titanic
It's
as a
like
secondary.
13 inches tall.
he stared by Castello
No,
in the
no, no.
eyes.
The guy is like 4
Magnus-
inches tall.
Magnus is not 4 inches tall.
Magnus could be any size he wants.
Stared at my Castellan eye to eye.
Maybe
And
that
he's
was just
not
the-
Titanic. Whoop, slashed him like he was
I
slashing
hid my
Bryce the Walmart.
dreadnought the other side of the map on past like a wall, and he's just like, "Hey, what's up?" I could see over that and just walked up.
Well, you
Yeah.
fly over.
Well, anyway,
you got wings the size of your dreadnought.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
they fly. Yeah, I think it's still a decent list. Like I haven't played it much in 9th edition because it's kind of nobody likes to play against it. But
I think we need to get it on the table though, just for the record.
yeah,
We did once, and you just mopped Chad.
Well, not against Chad.
I lost by
I
2.
think with the right demons to go alongside it, I think Nurglings. I don't think Plague Bears is as good as
That was
they
the
were.
best mop. I'm sorry, Zach just did like this fucking wrist move
Pull it
mopping,
out the water.
and I knew what it was, and it just like, fuck, I was shook. I was like, that's the smoothest I've ever seen Zach in my life. Oh my god. Anyway,
So I don't think Plague Bears are great, but I do think Screamers and Fiends, which are a very mobile, unit. It's not high toughness, but they got good and vulnerable save. I think you still go with the mobility that you get. I don't think Plague Bears are great anymore.
Well, you also get invulnerables in your whole army, which is good.
Right.
and he gets Nurglings.
And
Which
but
are
aside from
indestructible Nurglings.
the two Primarchs, there's nothing really great to shoot at with Eradicators or now Aggressors are the biggest boogeyman.
Yeah. Aggressors are good.
Yeah. So I'm not
And
sure.
they're good in both phases, so.
Yeah. Well, I think if you sent Mortarion into a squad of
Well, you
Aggressors,
send Mortarion, anything is going to die.
So they're
Except
not
for
good at
maybe
both.
another Mortarion.
and since like,
They'll just kill them in Overwatch. They have all the shots.
so I don't know if that's
They have
where
+1 to wound.
you want to be. If I took a just Demon's army, I would take the 3 Keepers Secrets and some Nurglings. And
Yeah.
Nurgle to back it up.
Okay. I was just curious. I mean, that seems interesting. So, Anvil, what would you do other than throw your army in the
I was going
dumpster?
to say, bring a trash can, throw my army in.
Oh god.
Robots for base.
What adjustments do you see being... Okay, here's my thing.
Here's the issues I see with AdMech.
we want to know what you would do, not the issues.
No, I'm just saying.
We don't have
In-
we
go ahead,
don't
go
have
ahead.
10 hours for
No,
the issues.
in list building, most of their models are vehicles. Just the way. Yeah, you have a few, but they're usually smaller elites. So you can't play around like with Marines list where you can deny like that.
So you got to go that orc strat, man.
T4 take and bring him down.
All vehicles.
All the vehicles.
Well, it's pretty much kind of where. So that's what I was just looking at. It's like there's not a real way to make your army like Troy and Zach can kind of build lists where you're like, hey, there's no like you can't.
I don't have vehicles in my army.
No, but you have but like you only play a couple characters, and so like assassinate's bad, and the bring them down is bad. Just like these secondaries, it's hard to pick a secondary against these armies because they either have like 2 vehicles and 2 characters, or there's just not a great selection there. I feel like with AdMech, the way that most of your models are vehicles, you're just giving that one up. There's no way to be like, I'm going to build a list that doesn't have a lot of vehicles. Like all your heavies are vehicles, like and all your things with punch. Everything else just has like -1 AP.
Yeah.
So you're like, well, I need more AP in my army. Got to play more vehicles, and you're just giving it because Castellan robots, vehicles. Like the mortar boats.
Yeah, but there's only one secondary. If you're all vehicles, then
Well,
there's only
but I think-
one
but I
secondary
think
that's
right
good
now,
against
but
you.
I think right now everybody is engaged in all fronts.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's...
So you're just giving.
Well, because that's like the one.
But here's the thing. Everybody's already got 2 or 3 secondaries built into their list. So you having one that you're going to give
Well,
them
that I'm
isn't-
just giving them, yeah. But I was like, that's the one thing I can't really do with my army. I can't really play around that secondary. I kind of got to give one to them.
Yeah.
I think I have to be mobile. I mean, I'm playing the Stratoraptors, which I think are good. They're not great, but they get victory points because they fly around, and most of the time people really don't shoot at them because they don't do a whole lot. Like, you get a couple last cannon shots, but
They're pretty tough too. I mean, they are actually pretty T7, and they've got a feel no pain, right? They're T7.
T7.
They are T7. I played
It
against
doesn't
them.
make any sense because they have
Yeah,
paper
the whole
wings.
time I played against you, they were
with the
T7.
Vinci wings.
It is transparent aluminum. We have discussed
yeah,
this.
it's high technology, all right?
Canvas.
And they got a
It's
3
called canvas.
but they have a 3F save.
Yeah.
So they're all right, but generally they're just not super offensive. So people are just kind of like, whatever.
I think that's going to change.
Well, it also minus one hit, and a lot of your army, the way your army's been built, they haven't been the primary target.
Yeah, everyone just shoots other things. So they do a good job of scoring points, and they're 175 points, something like that a piece. They're not too expensive.
Anyway,
So I think you got to take those to add some mobility to your army to get forward. Now, you can't hold objectives with them, but you at least gives you like engage on all fronts points that you can work with, because there are some fast attack options. Where you get the Cerberus Raiders, which you can't really count on them late game though. They're pretty squishy. They can get crushed pretty early. So, but they do give you some. They get to move before the game starts. Like a movement phase, so you can move them up to 18 inches. So you can push forward with those guys. I think you're going to have to try maybe the Iron Strided Ballistari, which is the shooty version of the Dragoons.
Yeah.
They get autocannon shots. They get 4 autocannon shots apiece, like 65 points. They're not great, not terrible, but they're mobile. So you can get like a mobile shooting platform that you can move up. That's T6 with a 4-up save. 6 of them vulnerable. And I actually think you're going to have to get away from Breachers.
Yeah.
They're good, but they're good against vehicles. And you either see a lot of like Venom spam lists where have vehicles, but as far as like Marines, not a lot of vehicles to shoot at, so you're kind of wasting those. I think you'd just be better off having like Vanguards with plasmas
Yeah.
for that kind of cost. I think I'm going to end up cutting the Dune Riders. It's a couple hundred points in transports that just don't accomplish a lot.
Maybe they go back to the mortar boats things or something. I don't know. Well, I guess if you're switching to the Iron Striders, that's probably
I'm thinking of we've looked at maybe 2 squads of robots or even 3 squads of robots, doing 2, 2, and 2, or 2 squads of 3. It's
Robots,
3 squads of 4.
robots
So
are
here's
solid.
my
that's your whole army,
question.
got it?
Yeah, so here's my question with the concept. So we already have established that your army belongs in a dumpster.
Yes.
Okay. So assuming you're going to get it out of the dumpster, you're definitely not out-mobiling anybody under any circumstance, right?
Well,
So what if you go and you just lean ridiculously into just murdering? Like, you just play the guys that can advance. Hear me out. You just play the guys that can advance, right? You know they're going to die. But you just play them so that you can slow them down coming to you. And then you just play a murder, like a line of kill.
You walk up to the middle,
And, like, you make them spend a turn clearing, and just enough to get your robots up to where they're in range. And any other, like, you play Dune Crawlers, you play robots, you play Breachers to combine with robots. And, like, maybe you just try to just, like, stall for just a turn on throwing those guys away, because they do die pretty easily. And then you just murder anything that gets in range of the middle. Like, I mean, does that seem viable to you? I'm asking legitimately.
The issue is I don't have a lot of AP in my army.
But the volume, it just seems like you're maybe right. I'm just curious.
It's like the robots. The issue I've had with the robots is they hit on 4s, and they're only -2. So against things like custodies and whatnot,
It's hard to kill a custode.
well, I understand
-2 is pretty solid.
it's solid, but it's not.
you can't judge it just
Great.
on custodes.
But it's not great.
I mean, against Marines, it puts them on a 5-up.
That's like the best AP I got.
Well, your Dune Crawlers are like AP 3 or 4, right?
If you take them with the laser,
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what you would do, like...
we've been playing with the Icarus array just because you want more shots. Because the issue,
But if you're playing a stack of robots, you don't need more shots.
And that's
true.
Yeah.
You need AP.
well,
What if you do like the orc guys and just cut?
Like that's
troops and just
what I'm
go-
saying. You just lean
go
completely and
take a
just
spearhead.
like
all
you
the
say,
day.
you know what? Fuck your
Well,
movement.
the troops are actually the most brutal thing I had. The breachers.
Well, I think he can still play breachers, robots, and doom crawlers. And if he has any room outside of the guys that forward move, he throws them into the mortar boats, which probably not because they're super expensive.
Well, they're expensive and they're -1.
They're not line of sight shooting, which I do think is decent.
The issue is you're looking at a lot of lists that are just playing like Primaris Marines and aggressors, and the -1 is like
Maybe you just max out on robots and breachers and play 3 doom crawlers.
It's like it sounds good in theory, but they're really you got 3-up saves against.
But
the mortar boats.
that would be fine. I
You're
do
spending
think
200 points for them, and you're like, "Ew."
I do think robots and breachers and dune crawlers, and then just having the free move guys just slow shit down.
I think you're doing it wrong. I think you give up the primary for the first 2 turns. They're going to score a bunch of points on you, but you save those fast-moving units, keep them alive, and then as you kill their entire army, that's how you move into those points.
Yeah, and you could.
Late.
Yeah, and you could do that.
'Cause you
Ignore
don't
that.
have to-
You don't have to move them forward.
You don't have to outscore your opponent every turn. It's the end of the games will matter.
Well, that's what you do every game. It's
That's
like
what
your
I was
game.
thinking.
You start off
Well,
outscored.
his army is super durable too. I don't
That's what I'm
have
saying.
a lot of
But
durability.
you don't. But instead of running your guys out there to die and try to maintain parity, just kill their stuff and then come back late.
Yeah, I do
even
think
do
Let them come in your stuff.
You
and
do
then
have-
just kill them.
it is the shootiest army, right? Like your army shoots better. It does shoot better than anything else in 40K as far as volume of fire, and that's a huge volume of AP -2 shots.
Not, but I mean,
What else shoots better?
Marines.
I don't think they shoot. I think
Marines probably, yeah.
No,
With aggressors
not
and
volume
stuff,
of
they get way
fire.
more shots than I do.
yeah, aggressors get more volume of fire, but their range is not comparable.
And their what's the weapon profile that our aggressors are using? Well, not the flamer, the other gun.
The bolter.
So it's not AP -2.
Well, it
Yeah,
is.
robots are gross.
It is in the
Yeah.
Devastator Doctrine.
And if they're stapled
How
down, they
many
get
robots
double
can you take
shots.
on it? Like, what's the max?
18. They're units of 6.
Well, yeah, you can play it.
You couldn't get that many.
No, you can't fit. You can't fit. You probably. I would say you probably take like 2 units of 5.
I think you're
That's-
actually right though. Where the 3 units,
That's
it's stronger.
13 or 1400. Well, the
That's
reason is,
fine.
well, I'm just saying that's like 1500 points, but it's hard to get anything else on the list.
How much is a robot?
125 points.
Okay, then that's 1,250 points. So you still have 750 points.
I think you try the 3 units and use them as your durable objective holders.
Yeah.
And you
I mean,
can even
we
stay
talked
them
about-
down,
well,
and
originally-
then they're never going to come in. 'cause they're using Overwatch.
Originally, I played them in 1 unit because if you played Mars,
Yeah, it was insane to double.
Wrath of Mars.
Who's going to challenge you? Who's going to get there? Well,
You don't just.
Well, I was just curious. I mean, it may be
So-
totally wrong. It's just I feel like everything you've been trying to play the mobile game and it is not working for you.
no.
and now they can shoot in combat.
Well,
so they're super nasty.
And
The benefit of everybody coming over to the garage to play games is I get to see every game. What I'm seeing is Anvil's trying to maintain parity too much. Like, your army's not good at parity, so don't do that.
You do try and run out and grab directions on first turn.
Like, I understand why you're doing it because you don't want to fall behind, and you
Well, I can't score to the secondaries. I feel like now I did make a mistake. We're talking about I played Troy, he played Drakari, and I misread the secondary on bring him down. I thought it would just hit vehicles. So Troy had 4 vehicles, but they were all less than 10 wounds. 10 wounds or less. So they were on 2 points. And I was like, well, even if I kill every vehicle in his army, it's
8
I had
points.
6 vehicles.
right. I don't remember what went wrong,
I don't either.
but
well, you had 2 Ravagers,
And 3 planes and a Venom. I had 6 vehicles.
well,
it was the.
but they were all only 2
the
points.
towers were also counted,
Well, we didn't
But
bring they
I
were
had-
monsters, so I didn't.
but I
really
had
count.
6 vehicles anyway. Like,
Yeah, but the jets are going to be flying all over. It's hard to get to sometimes. So I was
it's
like,
kind of interesting that nobody really went with aircraft outside the orc in the list we talked about.
but so
He tried to maintain parity, so he ran up the board with all of his stuff. But Troy was playing Talos, which got to shoot and melee.
Which is
So-
really rough.
which is not what you want to do against Talos. So I think you just have to spend, even though it sucks, you have to spend 2 turns or 3 turns killing things, and then move and take over the board. Like you can't maintain parity because you're not good at that.
And then I think maybe
So
you
be
do,
better at shooting.
So and then I mean at that point you probably just take whatever like super high but hard to achieve secondaries there are. If you bank on beating, like wiping out the majority of their army, you say
You're just going to have to pick a killy one.
He definitely should have taken the vehicle.
The vehicle.
We talked about that.
The vehicle. I mean,
And I think
what
what I've noticed is, and Zach mentioned is actually the one told me about it, is the Reaper one. I don't forget what it's called now, but
in the ranks.
In the ranks, you now get an extra point for every vehicle you kill if they're vehicles. And even then, like most armies,
well, if you had 6, I mean that's 6 points.
Well, they have to be 10 or
Yeah,
more.
Oh,
I still
they
don't
have
like
to
the
be
way
10
they
or more.
do it.
But outside of Custodes or any other kind of really low model unit, you're gonna get 5 to 10 points out of it.
Out of killing normal units.
Yeah.
And then you can stack it up
It's
with
not
vehicle heavy
It's
units.
not great, but if you can't find a good secondary, it's a good one to lean back on.
Yeah, I
Killing
mean,
the Warlord, if you take it, they're gonna deny that.
You're
to you.
never going to take that one unless you have some
'Cause
Like
it's
Vindicator.
cool to see the 13.
some like Necron mortal wound bomb type
Yeah.
thing.
It's
Yeah.
cool to see that you can get 13, but that's not gonna happen. They're just gonna deny it to you. It's not that hard to keep your Warlord
No.
out of.
Unless you got shenanigans. So, yeah, I still like the Stratoraptors. They got twin las cannons. They got 6 basically
like-
robot shots
yeah.
and 6 stuff. So I would take those because they're mobile. They don't hold objectives, but like I said, I can get and harass back lines.
They're annoying annoying.
And the robots are good. And I'll probably, if you're gonna have to go heavy on robot, it goes one of 2 ways. You go heavy on robots, and you're going to play Mars and put Call in there with them, because hitting on 4s, they're just not good enough.
And on Forge rolling everything.
Now
Good
that's different.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So, and I think either that or you go with a Crusader.
I personally like the robots because Crusader gives you Titanic and you're already giving up
Well,
vehicles,
It's the same amount of points, pretty much.
but you're giving up both then,
No,
right?
No,
they're in the same.
you
thing.
cut the
They're in the
robots.
same.
They're basically the
Oh,
same
you're gonna
amount of
cut
points.
all the robots for it.
Cut
Oh,
the
okay.
robots, play a Crusader.
Yeah, I think the
I
robots
think-
are your strongest unit by far.
I think, and you can split them into different size units. So if you
Yeah.
get struck by a Shadow Sword, you don't just lose
Yeah,
one model.
yeah,
Not that anybody's going to play a Shadow Sword. Don't play Shadow Sword.
yeah,
Or do please play
Spoiler:
yeah.
they might be secretly good.
They're not.
They're not.
Nobody's gonna test them, so we don't know.
They're bad.
So,
You heard it here.
Every
first.
time I've seen,
I just
one,
feel
got
like-
trucked.
I just feel like I've been watching you play, and I don't feel like you're making horrible mistakes when you're playing. I just feel like your
makes
army,
horrible mistakes.
but I don't feel like you're making mistakes to the degree to which you're losing.
I just feel
I just don't think you
like
play.
my army doesn't have the kind of the fire, like it shoots well, but it doesn't have enough firepower. Like everyone just survives all my
You
shooting and just
have-
march forward.
You have
Because what it is 8th edition, you got to shoot everybody off the board. And now he's got to play a lot more tactically, and you got to save your units longer. You're not used to that.
Like you still shoot people
You,
off the
you
board.
still
You
need
shot-
reps.
and
Chad had 4 models left, but he was 50 points ahead of you. Like
and we changed the rules of the way the game's played. You know, like
Yeah.
and it felt like I feel like since we started 9th edition, everybody's goal collectively has been rush objectives, pretty much.
Yes.
And you've been trying to play that game, and your army just doesn't do it.
I can
It
get
just
there.
doesn't.
I get there, but then I just get obliterated off of it. It's
So
like,
don't do that.
Yeah. So change the rules of the game. Be like, just try to slow the game down and just. I think you just have to
well,
lean
the
in on
issue is,
shooting.
I did that against Chad. That's the thing. Like I played against Chad and I stayed back and killed his whole army, but then I still lost by like 20 points.
Yeah, there's a very fine line. It's-
But that was at least on the right track to success. You killed his whole army.
Well, he had a squad of squads
One
left
squad
running
of
for their
scouts.
life, but
Yeah.
he still just bodied me because he got 15 points in
I think
primaries.
you were just a little too far. If you would have got moving,
But that seems way more on the
Well,
right
but
track.
I couldn't because Bobby G was over there going to
Yeah, but that was
swinging a flaming axe or sword in my
maybe you
face.
should do more.
It's like in
Well,
Magic
I-
the Gathering. Who's the beatdown? Who wrote that?
Michael Flores.
you gotta know.
Who's the beatdown?
Who's the beatdown? That's where it is. That's where you're losing your games. Is you don't know when to turn that corner and press.
yeah.
Well,
You're either trying to do it too early or you're doing it too late. I honestly think that's where your problem, your most
Yeah,
problem.
I think you need to lean into what your army does best, and you know how to play that army. It's just figuring out. You're going to keep losing some games until you figure out when that pivot point is. But you're able to kill enough to where people are going to.
Well, and I've only played against, other than Troy Stracari, which he also cheated, but slightly.
It didn't affect the game, but it did.
Well, I might have killed that guy and actually still had 2 points of recon, only lost by 20 instead of 30. So,
Him fighting twice doesn't matter how many shots you put into him.
no, I'm just saying, but he might
You
not
might
have
have
killed
still had a guy on the
on that over there. I might have had a few more.
Yes, I fought with him once on your turn when he shouldn't have. My bad.
Either way,
But
we all make mistakes. I made a mistake too. So
I've only played against, other than Dracari, but I've played against Custodes and Troy's Demons, which have, but things that have good saves. I played against the Thousand Suns, which have 3-ups, 4-ups.
Well, we played against the Necrons too.
yeah, they have good saves.
Well, everyone's gonna have good saves. People don't bring units with bad saves.
Well, yeah, because no one's playing guardsmen and stuff anymore. That I was real good at blowing off the table, and that I don't think my army just.
Well, guard's
AP
bad right now.
AP.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So I don't feel like there's a lot of things. My army doesn't. It has a lot of AP 0, and then a little bit of AP 2, and that's about it.
Well, if you're playing 6 or 8 robots, that's a lot of AP too.
Yeah.
That's a whole lot of
Well,
AP
you,
too.
that's what I'm saying.
And against anything that's not a custom.
Well, I haven't been playing that lately. I've only been playing a few robots.
I know.
So
I think that's where you're having trouble.
So
Like, I think they're your best unit by a lot.
yeah, and
They're really good. I mean,
Yeah.
they really bring, like, every time you
They
shoot.
got good saves on top of good shooting.
And don't they have like a stratagem where they do mortal wounds on 6s?
Yeah,
Isn't that a
that's
that's
stratagem?
the Mars. You have to be Mars.
Yeah, so you have to play Mars.
Yeah, and if you're gonna play Mars,
You
have
gotta
to
play
basically
Call.
Play Call.
Okay.
So you.
So I think that's the list you try this week, though. Maybe just give it a shot.
I've tried it, kind of a build once before, but we're gonna have to mess with.
Because you're right, your list sucks at playing the mobile game
Yeah.
overall.
It's not very durable.
He's bad at the durability game.
Yeah.
So you gotta
Like
adjust accordingly.
like my army's a little expensive because everything supposedly has a really durability because they got 6-7 vulnerables, but you don't really make them a whole lot. So your stuff.
They've also got 3-up saves compared to
Yeah, I mean,
that's-
it's we're not, the rest of your army is
And they hit on
solid.
3.
You can't say your army's a dumpster.
All right.
Yeah, but so I think as far as like AdMech goes, I'm gonna have to like forego Electro Priests, transports, and just play I'm gonna have to try to castle.
Yeah.
It's the only thing there because I don't think you can really push forward.
And I think if you get robots on a center objective or something like that, you just staple them. They can shoot in melee. You staple them, get your shots doubled,
You
and
gotta-
like they
you-
have to wipe the unit
You
out.
got to get more than 2. I found out because Troy blew them off the. I had 2 on the random.
I do more wounds to vehicles.
No, you didn't even shoot them with that. You just ravaged
And
them to death.
you put them in front of my arm.
Well, I think that's all. That's all. That's all.
It's all the who's
Yeah.
the beatdown thing.
Yeah,
You
that's
ran
all
out there,
tweaking.
You threw him on the objective
And Troy
in front of his whole army, and he shot him.
Yeah.
You should not have been surprised by the result of that.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that's just going to be hard. I think you're one of the very few people that say, I need to go second because you need them to come forward to you, and then you just need to bank on winning.
It just the issue I think with going with second is just the way the scoring works with the primaries. Is
Well, it's not going to matter if you kill the whole army.
Well, I don't think anybody's doing that. I mean,
You killed all but his scouts, so
I
you
think
can
it's
kill
sick.
Space Marines.
I think our last game you probably should have gone second.
I think it's
definitely an argument to be made to go second on some armies in some matchups.
yeah, because you just want to be able to definitely shoot the robots on the first turn, and if they stay out of their range, 24
actually, I
inches.
did go first.
You did. I don't think you should have.
I ran forward and shot some Talos and did like 4 wounds, and then
Right. And then your whole army was in front of his army, and he
Yeah, and he got way better quality of
going to
shots.
second guy to be
Your whole
beneficial.
plan was the priest getting, invulnerable and being good, but I just had volume of fire and nothing that was really great
well,
for
my
him
plan
to
was
get
hopefully the robots would kill some stuff. And
Yeah,
I didn't
but
kill anything.
yeah, there was nothing.
I killed the whatever your little.
Yeah, there was nothing great in my army for the priest to get into.
Just
Like,
gotta,
my guys have crazy melee, and I have decent shooting.
Yeah.
just gotta play more cagey.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. I think that's just something to consider this
There's
week.
a list there.
No,
I don't think AdMech is actually dumpster fire. Like, I
I
think
don't
they're good.
think the murder boats are good now that they've gone up another 50 points and they're -1, especially with all the Marines going around.
Yeah,
Like yeah,
that's fine. I can understand the murder boat
argument.
argument.
Doesn't cut it. It's just
Yeah, and
But
I
it's
understand that.
unanswered -1 AP. Like,
Yeah, but I can
Challenge.
understand us spending 150 points. That's fine. That
Yeah.
cut I can get. But robots are good.
yeah, all the robots. I think.
So,
Yeah.
all right. My thing for the meta, I guess, would be is I actually just got all of my Thousand Suns this week. I still think Thousand Suns are good. I will say it sucks giving up Abhor the Witch. That's rough. I ended up cutting a character already, so I'm back down to 2 characters because it sucks giving up a character kill and an Abhor the Witch. So I cut the Demon Prince because he wants to be touching things. If he's not touching things, he's not worth playing. So that's my main change. The Helldrake was fantastic. Actually, T7, 5-up invuln, and if there were actual vehicles that were worth tying up in my match, it would have been absurd. Like, just that it can get in and tie stuff up, like moving 30 inches around the board is just insane. And he's not like garbage in melee. And the Flamer.
Turns out he just blew up everything he needed to tie up, so
Yeah.
there was nothing to do.
Yeah, it turns out I do think Thousand Suns are good. Zangors, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna build a list this week that leans heavy on like 60 or 90 Zangors, just to see what they can do best case scenario, and then go from there. But right now, I still don't actually know how good Zangors are gonna be. They don't seem like they're gonna be good, but when they touch something, they can still bring a lot of pain, and they can fight twice, and they can fill a very specific role that playing Chaos and Thousand Suns lacks. Obliterators are still bananas. Like, I played them as Iron Warriors, and I'm definitely switching to Alpha Legion because I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the Lord, and instead of playing a unit of Marines, I'm actually going to go back to Cultists. And yeah,
The unplayable cultists?
they're still really bad, but they're 15 points cheaper, and I need the 15 points. So I'm going to put them up there, and basically what it says is you can target a unit, and if it's not the closest unit to your opponent, they can't shoot it. So I just guaranteed get my Obliterators for a whole turn. So I get to shoot them twice, which is really good. Because if they shoot twice, they're killing. Every turn they shoot, they kill something. And they shoot twice each turn. So they're shooting 4 times. And the amount of damage that they do is unreal. I'm not 100% sure if that's the right play because the re-rolling the D3s was insane. Like, I rolled 2 3s on my D3s, and my other one was 1, and I re-rolled it to a 3 for the damage. So I was able to have Strength 9, AP 3, Damage 3, which was absurd. So I definitely like that. And I definitely think you shouldn't be sleeping on Obliterators. I ended up playing Chaos Lord, unit of Marines, and the Obliterators. Liked it a lot. Cut the Demon Prince. For sure, I'm doing that. And I want more Rubrics. Rubrics were really good.
Who was right on Demon Princes?
You were right. It's not that he's too expensive. It's that
He's also too expensive.
he is also expensive, but it's because like he doesn't fill a role that I can, like, he doesn't do something that I can utilize. Like, I played him for Gaze of Fate, not even for anything else, and it's just not worth an extra 80 points to have a character that has to get in and risk dying and giving up 2 secondaries to have Gaze of Fate. So I don't have anything that can get Gaze of Fate, which kind of sucks, but I'm willing to take that hit overall. So if I was adjusting for the meta, though, seeing the new Space Marine stuff, I think I'm going to, if I was just going for that meta, I would cut my Zangors 100%. Would not play Zangors. I would probably actually cut the Thousand Suns Battalion down to a patrol, play an HQ, which would be Ahriman. I would play, or Ahriman, however you say his name, 2 units of 20 Rubrics. Those guys are insane. A unit of 10 Scarab Cultists, or Scarab Termies, and then I would run my Helldrake, and then I would run a second patrol that would probably run a Sorcerer instead of a Chaos Lord, and I would run the Obliterators and, like I said, the Cultists, or maybe another big unit of Marines just to hold my opponent off, because if they kill the Obliterators and I had another unit of like 10 or 15 regular Chaos Marines, I could shoot twice with those as Slaanesh, and then I have the volume of fire, so like I can control that engagement situation, especially if I'm playing Alpha Legion, because I can spend a CP, forward operatives them, and I'm getting in the middle with their scouts and stuff, and I could just shoot twice and wipe out these middling field bullshit squads. So that's kind of where I would be adjusting specifically for the meta. I still think like Psychers are insane versus Custodes. I don't know how they wouldn't be, because you get 1 deny, and assuming I'm going to use 2 to 3 mortal wound things per turn, because all of the Rubric Marines and the Terminators, they all have psychic powers.
I'm
So
just gonna hit all my 6-ups.
yeah, I mean that's possible.
I think you're like 6 or 7 on denying psychopaths.
Oh, that's on the 4-ups.
Oh,
Like they just naturally
they get the
ignore all the
mortal
6.
ones. Yeah.
Yeah, they just get the feel no pain
Why not?
to mortal wounds. But I think that's what you have to lean on versus Custodes. Like that's a good way to equalize the playing field, because like if you kill 1 or 2 in the psychic phase, that's a big deal. That's 100 points like in the psychic phase. So I still think that's the way to go. So if you're a Thousand Suns player, you need to be very aware that you have to protect your characters. And the reason why I want bigger units of rubrics is because you don't want to give up that aspiring sorcerer to an easy Abhor the Witch. So playing those big blobs, being able to make them have at least a 4-up with a CP, or you can target one and give it a 4-up already, and then say, okay, well I'm not going to shoot at that one. Well, then the other one you can give a 4-up anyway, and 4-up invulns pretty good against shooting at him, because says the Custodes player. That's how I would handle the meta. Yeah, that's how I would handle the meta right now if I was just adjusting a list. As far as Necrons go,
yeah, let's say, what if you're a Necron?
As far as Necrons go, I don't think you play Doomsday Arcs. There's a lot of like weird things that are 3 damage that are high AP, and they don't get invulnerable saves. They only get the quantum shielding. So I actually think they're not that good right now, because there's just a lot of things that fit that role. Like there's weird melee units that are dealing the flat 2, flat 3 damage, and you just aren't going to get your quantum shielding. So I think what I would do is I need to test it probably this week. I think I want to lean into Scorpec Destroyers randomly because they're so cheap. I feel like GW maybe undercosted them a little bit even without stratagems. I really wish they had a fight twice stratagem. I would feel a lot better about them. But if they get in on something, it's gone. They're insane. So that's the big thing. I think I would go in on destroyers, a whole bunch of destroyers. I don't even know if I would play Tomb Blades right now. I would fit as many destroyers, as many Scorpec destroyers, and as many things that could give the units my will be done. So I'd play a battalion, or I would not play a battalion. I might just play like a spearhead and a patrol or something. I don't know. I'd have to figure it out. I don't really want a lot of the infantry in the current meta. The infantry feels really bad. They're slow. You can't get super tricksy with them. And if I'm going to Dark Matter, or if I'm going to Veil of Darkness anything, it would be the Scorpec destroyers, because they just bring so much pain if they touch stuff. So that's probably where I would be on Necrons. And that does remind me, the jumping and the rubric forward deploy effect in Thousand Suns is insane. So I do want to go back to that. Forward deploying rubric Marines and forward deploying Alpha Legion stuff at the same time gives you a scout-like feeling, except for with a way higher quality unit. So if you are in chaos, don't sleep on that. But that's all I've got to say about it.
I'm good.
Good. Well, I do want to say so our question of the week this week is, if you were going into this meta, we'll say you're probably going to be, we'll just say if you were looking at the meta, what do you perceive as the most valuable thing to target? Like, is it the mobility, the toughness? Like, what do you value most in the game right now? Is it AP on weapons, volume of fire? Is it the size of the units? Do you think infantry could be good, like big blobs? I'm curious about that. I'd like to know. Same way as always, contact us via any of the many methods we have. And let's go ahead and do socials. Anvil?
At Evilbeard on Twitter.
Zach?
At Mr. Fingerguns on Twitter.
Chad?
At Chad B. McKenzie. Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, everything.
Troy?
At Viking Heart on Twitter.
And then I'm Brinks. I'm at BR1NXL on Twitch. LLBR1NXLL on Twitter. And we have a Tactical Reserves Facebook page. We have a Discord, which I'll start putting the link in, with a hobby-specific channel, and I'm going to actually make a competitive discussion-specific channel as well, so that we can start getting some stuff in there.
Also, email the show, tacticalreserves@gmail.com.
There you go. So thanks, everybody, for listening. I appreciate you being in it for the long haul, and have a good one. We'll see you next week.